Good morning and welcome. Today is June 20th, 2023. I will call our Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. We have a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts this morning. But before we get into any of that, I will ask our friend Pastor Stanley Allen Jr. from Redeemer Lutheran Church to come forward for an invocation. That will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Ted Rittberger, a Vietnam veteran from the Marine Corps, who will do the pledge, and then when he is done, he'll share with us a little bit of his background. So if you would all please rise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Pastor.
Good morning. Let's pray. Merciful Father, we are so very thankful for this day, another day which you have given to each of us to serve. Thank you for this great joy and this great blessing. Lord, we also thank you for the various gifts which you have given to each one of us. And today we are especially thankful for the gifts given to each of our county commissioners, that they would serve the people of Martin County with wisdom, compassion, and joy. And Lord, I pray for guidance and strength for our commissioners as they discuss the matters brought before them, and that you would be with them as they carry out their work with a spirit of joy, enthusiasm, and humility. And Father, we are also so thankful for all who work in for this local government here in Martin County. May their service to each of us, to the people of Martin County, be joyful, and I ask that you would bless them. I ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
My name is Ted Rittberger, Carl Theodore Rittberger. I'm a farm boy from Ohio, a little tiny town. And Dan has asked me to share some of the funny stuff. I was 3rd Battalion, 26 Marines, Regimental Landing Team, Vietnam. And how you get from a little tiny town of Zanesville, Ohio to Southeast Asia and Vietnam was kind of strange to me. I was playing football at Findlay College in Ohio, year-to-year scholarship. Got a little crazy after the last game and was drafted in the United States Marine Corps. This is the part Dan likes. In Zanesville, I'm about 150 miles from Cleveland. There was 300 of us that went through that facility that day to be worthy and healthy to go to Vietnam. Well, the reason I was on a one-to-one or year-to-year scholarship, I have an inch cut off my clavicle, and so they cut my full ride and year-to-year. So I knew I was going to have a deferment, and I didn't really want to go to Vietnam, I got to tell you. And so 300 of us went through. They pulled 12 of us out, and I knew this was to tell me that I was unfit for military duty. And they took us in a room. You swore us in as privates of the United States Marine Corps. Marched us across, I'll never forget the street, to a hotel, put a guard at each end, allowed us to call home, and flew us out the next day. And it just gets crazier from there after Camp Lejeune and after Pendleton. We got a break after Pendleton, and the airlines went on strike. They called us back after 3 days, and then we loaded ships 24 hours a day for 3 weeks. I was a scout. We would land in DMZ, Phu Bai, Con Tien, Hue, and we were the first into that one area, and that was my first. You would have elephant grass, and it was my duty to get out of the helicopter first. And on flat grass, it could be 18 to 24 to 36 inches off the ground jumping out. I had a radio man behind me, and I had an M79, a 45, and a machete. And I worked hard to get that position because I didn't want to be back and somebody in front of me missing a landmine or missing something else. And my first introduction was that. You jump out, you don't know, in elephant grass, you don't know where the ground is. And so I got quick exposure. The M79 is a 40 millimeter projector that lobs a grenade, and the first thing you're doing is to the villages, and then you've got to walk through and see what you did. Anyway, we'll go back to happy stuff. After I was in the hospital at a little called, well, as a hospital, it was a canvas roof and a plywood hospital outside of Da Nang called Dog Patch. And General Walt was in charge there. And after I got that, I do have good memories to overrule what I see and what I seen and what I did was I got to teach in a Buddhist and Catholic village. Now this guy is from Zanesville, Ohio. My English sucks, and but these kids who've never had anything, me and the villagers built an outhouse for them because they're squatting, and we thought that would be good. Well, we built the outhouse, and they squat over the hole. So I'm telling you good things that helped me to stay away from the ugly stuff. And Sister Rose, I built her a little shack. But yet, in that village, they had nothing. And the chief of the village would invite me over to his place, which was grass floor, grass roof, and where they took their dumps, they brought out the raw fish. And compared to what I was in, you would eat that fish, and I was medevaced after everything from the hospital to losing 40 pounds, and I went from there to, first stop was the Philippine hospital, and then Yokosuka, Japan hospital, and then Okinawa hospital, and then I got out of country. I'm going to leave the rest to Dan. I thank you so much. Maybe I will leave something. When I was sitting next to the pastor, something rubbed, I don't know whether it was his hand or just a thought, and I know him pretty well, so he's had his own stuff with 9/11 and fighting in 9/11 to save people in the North Tower. But you folks make decisions, and your decision's not always happy for everybody, but it's the right decision for the government and for our county. And all I ask is anxious in nothing, prayerful in everything, thankful for anything, peace.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you very much. We have some agenda housekeeping to do. We have an additional item this morning, departmental number 4, approval of the collective bargaining agreement between Martin County and the International Association of Firefighters for fiscal year 2024 through fiscal year 2027. There are no consent agenda polls. We have a couple of requests to withdraw. One is public hearing quasi-judicial number 2. It was a public hearing to consider an amendment to the Martin County zoning atlas to change the zoning district classification for the Maureen T. Atkin property from A2 agricultural to AR5A agricultural ranchette. And we also have a request to withdraw public hearing number 5, a legislative public hearing to consider adoption of a comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 23-2, Hobe Sound Storage, and public hearing quasi-judicial number 1, public hearing to consider amendment of the Martin County zoning atlas to change the zoning district classification from CPA for CPA 23-02 Hobe Sound Storage. With that, I'll entertain a motion from Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would move approval of the agenda with the consent agenda, and I'll try to get, I was taking notes as you were going through all that, so if I get it wrong, please. With the withdrawal of quasi-judicial hearing, item number 2, public hearing, item number 5, and item number 1 under quasi-judicial hearings to both be withdrawn.
Correct.
Second that motion.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, because I think that there are a number of people who are here for the storage, please tell us what withdrawal means.
In simple terms, what it means is they've withdrawn it from today's agenda for having the public hearing, and if it is to be brought back to the board, it will require renotice and an advertisement again for it to be, and then rescheduled for a future meeting if they decide to bring it back.
So it's not being continued.
Correct.
It's being withdrawn. So if they want to bring it back, do they have to make a new application?
No, they just need to re-advertise. They're withdrawing it from today's agenda, but they will be able to re-advertise. But again, it will not be without the same notice that everyone received for today's hearing.
And if they do bring it back, does it have to go to the LPA again?
No, we don't believe so. We already have had the LPA hearing.
Okay.
Thank you. And the reason that the public hearing quasi-judicial number 2, which was the zoning atlas change, was the reason was no quorum at the June 15th LPA meeting. So that's got to go back to LPA, I assume. So with that in mind, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington for the agenda as it was presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. We have 2 proclamations. Now, for the folks that were here for any of those items, if you put a request to speak form in, you are still more than welcome to make public comment about what your feelings were for today. As Commissioner Hurd and our attorney, Ms. Woods, had mentioned, a withdrawal is not like, hey, it's going to be heard at the next meeting. It's withdrawn for them to decide what their strategy would be. Change it, bring it back the same way, whatever. So, I appreciate that you would come to share your thoughts, so you're more than welcome if you're in this stack. We do 2 proclamations, and then we go directly to the public comment. For the group that I believe is here from New Monrovia, I will take that item immediately following the public comment so that we don't make you sit here all day long, even though I know you'd love to, but we'll take that. So to our staff, we'll be taking the New Monrovia, so if Mr. Emerson and Phil Keithley need to come over from Utilities, have them come over, please. And with that, we have a proclamation declaring Ocean Month in Martin County, Florida, and it will be presented by Ms. Laura Beaupre. Ms. Beaupre, you are recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. World Oceans Day, celebrated on June 8th, gives us the chance to reflect on the importance of our ocean and what we must do to protect it. The ocean, our planet's life support system, provides 95% of the living space here on Earth and contains 98% of the water on our planet. During Oceans Month, the board commends organizations such as the Florida Oceanographic Society for their continuing diligence in providing education, research, and conservation to secure the future of our world's ocean. And here to accept this proclamation, we have Mr. Mark Perry, who is the Executive Director and CEO of the Florida Oceanographic Society. Come on up, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for recognizing the World Ocean Month and World Ocean Day in June. It is special because our community in Martin County is pretty much surrounded by water. We're in the coastal communities, as you know, and Martin County's done a stellar job in trying to understand and protect and preserve our coastal environments and ocean habitats. And As we know, the ocean is under a lot of siege because of global climate change, and our activities on land have created a lot of pollution, which runs off not only in the form of nutrients and runoff and pollution, but also in plastics. And over 65 million pounds a day of plastics and debris go into the ocean. So it's hard to understand how we can stop this pollution from happening. It's also causing global change. As you know, and since 1970, we've seen that the ocean temperatures rise by 1 degree. Doesn't sound like much, but that 1 degree has caused bleaching of our coral systems and also thermal expansion. The ocean absorbs 90% of the Earth's heat, and by thermal expansion, we've caused sea level rise. So since 1950, we've seen about 8 inches of sea level rise, which continues to, of course, confront us right here on the front line here in South Florida. Our coral reefs are also in jeopardy by a lot of this coral tissue loss disease, which is apparent, started in the Keys and has tracked all the way up the Florida Reef Tract, which Martin County is at the head of the north end of the Florida Reef Tract under this conservation area. That this ecosystem is vital to our county and our state, and you all have recognized it and have really done a lot to help stop this pollution from running off into our county areas to try to curb that activity that we have. You're also addressing things like shore protection down along Hutchinson Island and those kind of things. You understand the critical need of our environment and the ocean coastal connections right here. And I just think hats off to Martin County because we've done such a great job in doing that. Florida Oceanographic is continuing to do a lot what we can. 64,000 people a day come through the Coastal Center, which has been now in operation for over 25 years. And so we're really excited about working to continue that and continue working that. Tonight is we're having an International Ocean Film Festival right here at the Blake Library. It's free from 6 to 8. There are 7 different films like blue carbon, seagrass, different kind of topics. So I encourage you to come. There are 7 short films. They're great as part of that Ocean Film Festival, and we'll continue this awareness through the month of June. So thank you very much for recognizing it. I also wanted to pass out a little protection ocean, so there's a copy for y'all. Great. Thank you so much. I will. This one was great. Thank you.
Our next proclamation is declaring July 2023 as Parks and Recreation Month in Martin County, Florida.
Parks and recreation programs and facilities are an integral part of communities throughout this country and encourage physical activities by providing space for sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and other pursuits designed to promote active lifestyles. During July, recognized as Parks and Recreation Month, the board acknowledges the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, commends the department's work on, and encourages citizens to take advantage of the amenities and programs offered in Martin County. And here to accept, we have Kevin Abate, our Parks and Rec Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. So since 1985, people in the U.S. have been celebrating Parks and Recreation Month in July to promote parks and recreation. And ironically, that's when I started my career in 1985, going on 38 years. Behind me, we have Kevin Kerwin, Deputy Director. He's also 33 years in parks. Nancy Johnson, 8 years in parks. Jessica Ballish, over a decade in parks, all in Martin County. And of course, Todd Faust, 16 years, also in parks. So we have a lot of great knowledge and a great team here for the Parks and Recreation team. We've been accredited since 2000 for over 23 years through the National Accreditation for Parks and Recreation. In the last 2 accreditation cycles, which happen every 5 years, we've received a score of 100% over the 154 national standards. So I hope that you're proud of that. Some of the activities that are going on this summer, obviously this summer of parks, super busy everywhere. All of our summer camps are all free, courtesy of the Children's Services Council funding. We have 4 programs happening right now. We also have free swim lessons, over 500 lessons and 200 scholarships also happening over at Sailfish Splash Water Park. Just finished its first 10 years in the county. I can't believe it's been around for over 10 years. Our amazing free senior programs have been happening all year long, and just this year we've had over 3,200 participants at the Log Cabin Senior Center. We also have a free teen programming. We had 18 teen events, and we've had attendance of over 700 for our local teens in the county. We've had 16 special events in the past year, especially at the Mansion at Tuckahoe, the concert series, with attendance of over 10,000 that have attended. And just the various programs through the swim meets that we've had, the summer swim meets that are coming up, ribbon cutting ceremonies for the Palm City Community Center, and also we hosted and soon to host again this summer, the Babe Ruth World Series. So we are a very busy department in the summer. Those are just some of the highlights. But I do want to thank you for your support over my 13 years here in Martin County. And as I approach a long, illustrious 40 years in parks, I'm proud and still energized to work to make this a wonderful place for the residents of Martin County. Thank you.
I thought he was younger than that. How old is Kevin? Mid-50s?
Yeah. Really 13 when you started.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take public comment now. How this works for some of you that might not be familiar with how our process for public comment goes. I'll call your name, you'll come to the front. You'll have 3 minutes to make a public comment. At the 2-minute and 45-second mark, you're going to hear a tone. That doesn't mean to stop. That means there's 15 seconds left for you to sort of sum up your thoughts so we don't just cut you off. And then also, if you are going to speak during the public comment portion on an agenda item, you're more than welcome to do that. However, later in the day when that agenda item does come up, you can't speak to the same item again. And I think that's basically how it works. I'm assuming some of these folks are here for the storage issue that was the agenda item that was withdrawn, so if I might call some names and those people might have already left. Our first request to speak form is Mr. Michael Serkis. Mr. Serkis, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Michael Serkis. I'm a resident of Palm City. In the last more than half decade, I've had the distinct pleasure and the occasional pain of working with literally hundreds of public officials throughout the state of Florida, throughout many of our 5,000 plus municipalities at the state level, the federal level, and I once even engaged in a roundtable discussion with the entire Italian delegation to the European Union, which was quite an interesting event to have. Needless to say, I've talked to a lot of people, and I can tell you with a fair amount of confidence that our county administrator is pretty darn good at what he does. You may not agree with everything he does ideologically, but he's efficient, he's a good leader, he knows what he's doing. Having said that, he's not a perfect man. County staff, they are not perfect, department leadership's not perfect, I am not perfect, and none of you are. And I know this with 100% confidence because there are two universal truths in this world. Nobody is perfect. And second is that if we can't introspectively look at our actions and ask a serious question of what we could have done better, we will never become even close to perfect. So imagine my disappointment and my shock 2 weeks ago as I listened to not one, not two, but the majority of the board say that county staff was absolutely perfect in the preparation and execution of contract with the concessionaire for the Sailfish Sands golf course. Now, don't get me wrong, concessionaire screwed the pooch. They agreed something, they did not hold up their end of the bargain. That doesn't make us perfect, though. We have a lot of serious issues in this county. Let's be honest. We spent hundreds of hours last year talking about the affordability crisis in Martin County. I would speculate you probably spent several dozen hours preparing the less than 30 minutes discussion on the mental health crisis 2 weeks ago. We have a school board employee whose house has been habitually flooded for over a year because of failing stormwater infrastructure adjacent to her property. We have serious problems that need addressing. And if we can't take a look inward and say, where did we make a mistake or what can we do better, then I sincerely doubt we're going to solve any of those serious problems. Now, I asked this rhetorically. I wonder how many of you, before voting last meeting for $655,000 for 12 weeks, roughly 12 weeks of operation for the golf course, how many of you recognize that's 150% of the entire 12-month budget for stormwater rehabilitation that's projected for 2024? Probably not a whole lot, because that's pretty macro thing to take a look at. Now, the majority of constituents in the county voted for you and put you in your positions because they believe that you have the cognitive ability to form substantive questions to the material staff puts in front of you. They believe that you have the moral fortitude to put the needs of your constituents ahead of legacy building. And they believe that you have the leadership to tell staff, this is how we need to get things done. So the ball's in your court to either prove them right or to prove them wrong. It's up to you. Do it by action, please.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Our next request to speak form is Ms. Jennifer Dodson Cody Kemp.
I'm here to speak on a specific agenda.
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you. Our next request to speak form is also for that specific agenda item, unless, Mr. English, you would like to speak now or wait? Thank you. Susan Rezevdes. Susan? Mr. Tom Pine. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I've lived in Martin County for 50 years. I presently live in the Jensen Beach area. At the last County Commission meeting, Sheriff Snyder gave a chilling presentation on the need for a new wing at the county jail. He also had some profound words to say of the reason for the new wing. If we don't do something as a community to bend that curve, we are all in trouble. He's referring to the mental health crisis affecting us in Martin County. This cannot continue. So whatever's not right in our society that's producing these numbers, that's the real issue. Housing these people is just putting a bandage on cancer. As a society, we must make some course corrections. This is not the answer. While the commissioners talked about the presentation on the new wing for the jail, not one commissioner broached that part of his presentation that spoke to the core problem, mental health. I feel wage inequity and questionable spending habits by our county commissioners are the major contributing factors to this problem. Our county commissioners spending millions and millions of our tax dollars that has absolutely nothing to do with government operations. For example, in 2011, we built a community center in Jensen Beach for $1.5 million, and now that same building is operated by the Mountain County Chamber of Commerce. Or the millions and millions of tax dollars we spent on 2 mooring fields, or the millions of dollars we spent on the bar, restaurant, and high-end hitting bays at the Ghani Golf Course that many residents can't afford to use. Or the water park, or the massive Phipps RV park, or the 2 restaurants on the beach. How many county employees are now working in jobs that should be operated by the private sector? This is exactly what communist socialism looks like. All of these projects add to a major tax burden to Martin County residents, especially those that earn the median wage or less. There is constant fear of losing their home, food insecurity, not enough money for medications and clothing, all because the majority of our commissioners can't control their spending habits. Hidden in today's consent agenda is a contract for $692,180 to move and replace fencing at the county park. I believe this money came from the federal government CARES Act. This is not a routine expenditure and therefore does not belong in the consent agenda. What you permit, you promote. What you allow, you encourage. What you condone, you own. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. LaGiudice, if I pronounce that correctly, you are here for public hearing number 9, correct? That's the end of the general, yes. Sir, if you would like to come forward now, you can. You can just state your name for the record and then drop off a form with our bailiff. Oh, thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Mason Brown, and I'm a general contractor, and I'm building a new home in the new Monrovia section over in Port Salerno off of Southeast 47th Avenue. And I've got approved permits, approved septic plans, and all of the above. I went to the water utilities, and now they're indicating that I have to hook up to the water and sewer. Well, the sewer, I already had to hook up to the water, so which is going to cost my customer a significant amount of money, that if I have to go into the sewer system, that when I initially started this process back in last October, I was told that that wasn't going to happen until maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. So I'm wondering if, number one, are we required to hook into the sewer system? And number two, if so, by me representing my client, and I'm financially responsible for my client as a general contractor, will those funds be reimbursed back to me or my client if we don't have to go ahead and pursue with the septic system that we've already paid in advance, the permitting fees, the site surveys, and all of the things that we've had to do in advance? So my question, I guess, is two-part. Do we have to hook into the sewer system, number one? And number two, can there be financial restitution back to the taxpayer moving forward?
Thank you, sir. Are you complete?
Yes, sir.
Two things. One, your first question is a general question that we will take up during the agenda item for everyone that's behind you.
Okay.
Your second question is more specific. I don't personally know the answer to that, but if you're going to stay for the item?
Yes, sir.
After the item, I would recommend that you'd speak to some of the folks that are here from our utilities department. That sounds like a unique scenario that I am aware of, so I don't know the answer, but stay for the meeting and then they will address that specific portion. But the first portion is more of a general conversation that will be taken up during the agenda item, which we will take up following our comments this morning.
Okay, thank you for listening. I appreciate
My
it.
pleasure, thank you. Anyone else like to address us before we move on with the agenda? Seeing none, I will turn it back to our commissioners, and we will start with you, Commissioner Hurd.
I'm set.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins.
The only thing I want to apologize in advance for my coughing. I've been fighting a sinus infection for 5 or 6 weeks now, and if I become a distraction, I'll try to walk off. Anyway,
If I give you like a...
yeah, let's get out of here. Yeah.
Not contagious, whatever you're fighting, right?
No,
Is that it?
I have a spastic sinus, apparently.
I'll leave that one alone. Commissioner Heatherington.
No, I just want to bring up something we talked about at the MPO transportation meeting yesterday. I don't know if anybody else, it is the 710, 714 alignment. And DOT was here and presented some options, of which the board, yesterday preferred the realignment option. So we need to have a discussion at some point today about having a meeting with the Okeechobee County Commissioners, because DOT said that District 1 and District 4 had, that had an agreement together and they were working together, but they needed some guidance, direction, and maybe a memorandum of agreement between the Okeechobee and the Martin County Commission to proceed forward with that option of the realignment. So whenever you think is appropriate, we could have that discussion today.
Okay. 4 of the 5 of us sit on the MPO. Were the 4 of you there yesterday?
Yes.
I gave up my seat on the MPO for my colleague, Commissioner Hurd, to be magnanimous. That being said, and then I gave up that portion of my district to Commissioner Jenkins under duress. But that being said, I have worked on that for a long time with some of the residents and the very primary landowner out there who would have to participate. So I would need to hear what that conversation was. So I guess since the agenda's fluid today, maybe we could take that up before the end of the day, and someone from our staff can give us, the public and myself, some idea of what those strategies were. Unless
You want to add an additional item?
Sure.
Move to add the additional item to discuss the realignment of 714 and 126th.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up, Commissioner Heatherington. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Mr. Donaldson, at some point today, if we could have whoever is going to discuss that.
Yes, I'll have Public Works available. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is that it, Commissioner?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
I think Commissioner Heatherington just covered my comments from yesterday, so I'm all set this morning.
That's it? I would just say that this weekend, there's always things happening, a lot of events and things like that, but on Saturday, June 24th, at the Jensen Beach, Operation 300 and the Aaron Vaughn family will be having their 12th annual Frogman Swim and a 5K. You can go to Operation 300's website to, if you are, brave enough to participate. It's an ocean swim or a 5K run. But even if you don't, like me, it is a wonderful event. It's for a fantastic cause. Even if you're just going to be a spectator, it starts very early in the morning. I think 7 a.m. is when it kicks off. But it's just a really great event. They have several different things. There's vendors, there's other organizations that are represented. And it's beautiful out on the beach early in the morning in Commissioner Smith's district. And so I would encourage everyone to, if you're interested in doing something Saturday morning, come out and see what's going on. Commissioner Hurd, you were first.
Yeah, just another heads up. We were informed yesterday that Brightline is going to begin intensive testing in Martin County tomorrow through Thursday. They're going to be, I think it was said that it was going to be kind of hourly. Lots of fast trains going up to 110 miles an hour being tested through Martin County, the 21st through the 23rd. So be aware, be safe.
Thank you, Commissioner Heatherington.
When you mentioned Aaron Vaughn, I just wanted to say kudos to you on Map Road, the spotlight of the veterans on the banners. It looks fantastic. So if you haven't had a chance to ride through there, it's just amazing. I look forward to walking it so I could actually see all of them.
Well, thank you. Any way that we can support and highlight veterans is my honor to do it. That's very nice of you to bring it up. And with that, Mr. Donaldson. Ms. Woods. Okay, we're going to go directly now to public hearing number 3. A public hearing and final assessment resolution for the Port Salerno New Monrovia Wastewater Municipal Service Benefit Unit. It'll be presented by Mr. David Duncan, Sam Emerson, and Mr. Phil Keithley. Gentlemen, good morning. You are recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Phil Keithley, Chief Project Manager for the Utilities and Solid Waste Department. Mr. David Duncan, one of our project managers, is going to be making the presentation today.
Pull that microphone towards you a little more. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is David Duncan, Project Manager for the Utilities and Solid Waste Department.
Next, Donna.
There we go. As you see in this exhibit, it's Port Salerno, New Monrovia, the vacuum gravity sewer project area. Next. There we go. In 2015, the board directed the staff to acquire services of Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute to perform a study on the effects of septic discharges into the St. Lucie River and the Indian River Lagoon, specifically in regards to nitrogen and phosphorus loadings. The final report suggests significant contributions of nitrogen and phosphorus to the St. Lucie estuary watershed, primarily from on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems or septic tanks. Groundwater nitrogen and phosphorus levels concentrates were significantly higher in the residential communities. There we go. All righty. And as the board is aware, the Utilities Department has been working towards the design and construction of a wastewater collection system for Port Salerno, New Monrovia for many years. As part of this endeavor, the Florida legislature approved an $8 million and also a $500,000 grant in 2022. Another $2.2 million was budgeted from state revenue sharing funds. Franchise fees and utility contributions add an additional $2.1 million for a total of $12.84 million in contributions. The proposed assessment includes 952 properties at a total of 966 equivalent residential connections. As indicated on the slide, the total project cost is $24,358,921. With $8,500,000 from legislative appropriation grants, state revenue sharing and local contributions of $4,340,777, the assessable cost is reduced to $11,518,144. Therefore, the sum is divided by 966 equivalent residential connections for an estimated taxpayer amount of $11,924 per connection. And that equates to an annual payment of $749.17 per unit, amortized over a 20-year period at 1.34% interest rate plus standard fees. Martin County Utilities serves approximately 36,000 water customers, and the average residential customer uses approximately 6,000 gallons per month. The wastewater rate per 1,000 gallon is $4.82, plus a base rate charge of $19.73, which would make the average residential wastewater customer pay approximately $48.65 per month. With approval of the final assessment resolution today, the department anticipates commencing construction in September of 2023 and estimates a 23-month construction phase with completion in August of 2025. The lump sum payment of the assessment by property owner would be due by August 15th of 2024, and any payments not received by that date would be shown on the annual property tax bill starting in November of 2024. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Questions from the commission for staff? Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'll go back to the public comments this morning. First of all, is hookup mandatory, and when is it mandatory? And if a house is under construction, septic permits have been received, and perhaps septic system has been installed, what recourse does that homeowner, builder have?
If we commence construction in September and we take about 2 years to build it, it's by mandatory policy of the board that we would then send out a letter letting all residents know that it was available for connection. And by Florida statute, they would have 365 days to physically connect to that system. So if they have an existing septic tank, it will have to be removed and connected to the new sewer system.
Okay, so it's mandatory after 365 days of availability?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about if the case that the resident talked about this morning. There's a house under construction. He believed that he was going to have to use a septic permit, applied for a septic permit, received it. There's a new septic system that's been installed that's never been used. What recourse does that resident have?
In the state of Florida, every property owner has the right to have a septic tank if there isn't public sewer supply available. So even once we start construction on this project, property owner can still go in and apply for a septic tank permit, and they will be granted one, even though we're under construction. So it's up to the property owner and the health department, honestly.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Donaldson?
I was just going to say that, Mr. Keithley, isn't it been the practice, though, that if you had a new system, that until it fails, they haven't, the connection didn't happen typically right away in a lot of these communities?
In the case of these special assessment areas, that is not the case.
Okay.
In the case of our grinder systems, where we put in the low-pressure sewer mains, yes, they would continue to operate on their septic tanks until they failed or applied for a repair ticket, and then Martin County Health Department would not issue a repair ticket.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have any other commissioner comments?
I have one. So is the connecting in 365 days, is that state statute or is that board policy? Because I thought I recalled too that you wouldn't have to connect until your until you had to replace your septic tank.
It's actually board policy for these special assessments, and it complies with Florida statutes.
Okay. We have 2 requests to speak forms, and if you are interested and you hadn't filled out a form, you're still more than welcome to come up and make your comments. And then I will ask Mr. Amerson to come forward, who's the head of the department. Why don't we do that first, Mr. Amerson, so maybe that'll alter the trajectory of some of the comments. I had received a couple of phone calls last week with concern on this item. Now, I would tell you, the folks that are here and those listening, that the commission is sort of like stuck between a rock and a hard place, because obviously our goal is to try to get as many septic systems off, people off of septic onto our sewer system. And then, of course, if there's water, and then we come in and rehabilitate the roads and the sidewalks and curbing and everything. It's sort of like a universal package, and it has worked very, very well in many communities. The goal originally was all of our septic systems in 20 years, and then and then we switched it to try to get all of our septic systems done in 10 years. As the gentleman from the Florida Oceanographics this morning said, that it's a blessing that most of Martin County has some, connection very close to water bodies. We also then, at the time, you heard Mr. Keithley say, or Mr. Duncan say, that we had a study done in 2015 by Harbor Branch to figure out, where is the most environmentally sensitive communities that should be first, top of the list. And then we looked at systems that were older. Now, the tricky part is that the older communities quite often are the more well-established communities and folks that don't necessarily have a tremendous amount of expendable income. Like a lot of us don't have a tremendous amount of expendable income. Those are the neighborhoods that need to get done first. So, the good news is that, these neighborhoods are entitled to have these services. The bad news is that the government doesn't pick up the tab completely. If you could go back to the slide that showed you the initial cost versus how much we knocked down. We're going through the same issue in Old Palm City from east of Map Road to the river, as well as the fact that as the years progress, everyone can realize everything is getting so much more expensive. Had New Monrovia, had Old Palm City been done several years ago, the cost would have been less. That being said, our staff has done a very good job of trying to go out and find state grants, federal grants, and things like that to to lower the percentage that the residents would have to bear. Our project in Palm City was delayed well over a year because the project had been bid. We figured out how much it would cost per resident, and then the actual bids came up millions of dollars more. And so we had to go back out and try to find additional money to keep that number more reasonable. The two concerns that I had heard on the telephone, one was that a good portion of the residents didn't completely understand how the process was unfolding prior to today. Now, that doesn't mean that our staff, who's done this many times, has a very set policy. They do this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And there's always going to be people that either weren't aware or misunderstood what we presented, the information that we presented. In this particular case, from what I had heard and can somewhat see already, is that maybe every community is not the cookie-cutter community, that certain strategies of public outreach have to be different depending on the community. So that would be first, and that's something for the future, not necessarily for today. The second thing is that Mr. Amerson, who runs our department, and Mr. Keithley have been at this a long time. Mr. Keithley, do you have any idea what number community conversion this is for you?
Number 8?
8. But you've done thousands of homes in the conversion.
In regards to water line extension, yes, the bulk of the assessments were done. Approximately either 7 or 8 sewer assessments.
Okay.
The bulk of our customers, our water customers to the utility over the years have come through the special assessment process.
Since the board gave the mandate to switch as rapidly as possible to switch over, how many have you done? We've switched thousands.
Would be North River Shores 1 and 2, Golden Gate, and now this one would be number 4.
How many total houses? More than 4, I bet, right?
Yeah, you're looking at 7, 8,
1,200?
1,300 homes.
Okay.
So far.
Mr. Amerson, I asked you a question, like, is there anything else that we can do? Do you have any rabbits? And the conversation was, and look, every circumstance, every community is unique. Can you share with the group what you had explained to me?
Sure. For the record, Sam Amerson, Utilities Department Director. I'll share with you that the SHIP program is one alternative to assist homeowners, whether it's improving the home for a roof repair or replacement, improve energy efficiency through windows, et cetera, air conditioning. They also provide funding for septic to sewer conversion and also for connecting to the water system. So, for example, in North River Shores, we had a couple of customers, at our surprise, they met the income requirement and also the number of persons in the home, and SHIP paid for the entire assessment in full up front and also for the connection to the sewer system. And we've had several since then in Palm Lake Park that they've paid for the water system connection and also the sewer connection and the assessment. So, I'm sorry, for that one was grinder. They paid for the complete grinder install, so no cash out of pocket for the homeowner. So that's one alternative. My understanding of talking to the department, Michelle Miller, that they're getting funding in July through the state. I don't remember the amount, $2 million or plus dollars, but a portion of that can go for connecting the homes.
Okay. So what I'd like to explain to the folks that are here or listening is that the SHIP program is handled through a different department than utilities. And as Mr. Amerson said, now I want to be clear, that doesn't mean that everyone can leave here thinking we got it paid for. There are certain qualifications that need to be met, and they're not, I sit on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, and with that in mind, there is money available, and that money sort of fluctuates year to year. Sometimes it's not much at all, sometimes it's a terrific amount. And I think we're heading into, and Ms. Miller's not here currently, but I think we're heading into an area where there will be some substantial funding available there that can address this, and that is above and beyond what you saw in this information here. So that is a step in the right direction. One of the callers asked me, well, why can't we just put our neighborhood, like push it off the front of the line. I'm not an expert on this, but I would tell you, you don't really want to do that because you could then be pushed back years and years and someone else, what?
Then lose the grants.
And then the grants would go somewhere else, or potentially we would lose the grants, or could we?
Very likely.
Okay, so then if 4 or 5 years from now, when it becomes much more of an urgent concern and you're ready to do it, I would tell you, as a person that has to pay bills like everybody else, there's no great time to ever take on this. There are some advantages. Do they have, this is purely a sewer issue, not a water and sewer issue, correct? So hydrants and everything else are already there.
Actually, the Community Development Agency funded all of the water main extensions over the past 2 years into this area.
So no cost for that, where some neighborhoods have a cost for that.
The only cost for that would be connection charges payable to the utility when they choose to connect to the system.
Okay, and that's different than, if you have a legitimate well, you don't have to necessarily connect. Okay, with that, I will now take some public comment. I hope that sort of conversation might, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Smith, I didn't see your light.
I think if you could go one step further with SHIP and explain what SHIP is and how it's a state program, SHIP is.
Yes, it's a state housing improvement initiative, partnership rather, and the state provides funding through all the counties, and they make funds available, like I said, for home improvement, for energy efficiency, a re-roof.
And Sam, how would someone apply for SHIP funding? Is it to us? Is it to the state? Who facilitates that? And
It would be to, I think, is Health and Human Services, Michelle Miller's office.
okay, and
Would apply
we'll
there
get that
directly.
name to anybody that's interested and that phone number. You can contact them if that's of interest. I think that'll be helpful.
Yeah, we can either put it on the website, or you could call any of the 5 of us, our offices, and we can get you directed. Michelle Miller, who handles that department, Health and Human Services. Plenty of people apply all the time for these grants for, as Mr. Emerson said, re-roofing, windows, weatherproofing, garage doors, air conditioning units. What we're talking about today would fall into that category. And the requirements to be granted that funding, I think most of this in the community. Mr. Graham is here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Matt Graham, Assistant County Administrator. Phil, can you bring up the, if a homeowner doesn't connect, is there any consequences? Can you talk about that a little bit?
After the 365-day period, as per policy of the board, if they haven't physically connected to the system, we would start charging the resident our flat rate sewer charge on a monthly basis until they physically connected to the system. That's the penalty.
Okay, and can you explain what the cost is on a monthly basis, please?
About $19.34, I think, presently.
So, I thank you, Mr. Graham. I guess what the point he's trying to make is that there would be another option if you wanted to not participate. I know it's $19 a month to not have to spend $750 a year. So as maybe as a stopgap, as a thing, as the minimum payment there. So it's not a tremendous, I'm not saying that $19 a month, that no one wants to spend money. It's a Netflix or some kind of one of those things you signed up for and you can't get out of. It would be one of those. But that being said, I think SHIP is the way. Mr. Steve English, you are first.
Mr. Chair, if I may, real quick,
Yes.
a couple of clarifications. One is the program is mandatory, as we follow the state statute, the board policy follows state statute. When the project's complete, it's placed into service, released by DEP to put into service. We notify every resident that's on the assessment that service is available, and by statute, they have 365 days to connect. That's mandatory. However, the county and utility staff does not enforce that and make a mandatory connection. That's enforced by the health department. And the health department historically has allowed people to maintain their septic systems to the point, or stay on and use their on-site systems until the point that they have a failure and they need to make a repair. The health department will not allow a permit for a repair, and at that point, they must physically connect. And so that's enforced through the health department. And then one other clarification on the base charge, if they haven't connected in 365 days, that $19 and change is charged per month to the resident. They still have to pay the assessment, either in full in August of 2024, or they can pay on their tax bill each year. It can be paid off in full at any time in the 20-year amortization schedule. So I just wanted to make a clarification on that.
And then I guess the important distinction is the septic systems, the whole process of reviewing them and permitting them is handled at the health department. That building is located on Willoughby, across the street from Sailfish Splash. So, which is not a Martin County Health Department, it's the state health department located in Martin County. Sir, I appreciate your patience. Mr. English, you are,
Hi, yeah, I'm Steve English. I'm a Port Salerno resident. And if I may ask one question to,
well, ask it to me and then I'll,
to clarify what he said. If you don't connect to the sewer system, do you start paying the $12,000 or $15,000 on your tax bill even though you're not connected, or does that come in when you connect?
no, it starts in August of 2024. You can pay it in full. I believe it was
can you go back to
$11,900.
that slide?
There it is.
12,000, 11,924.
That's correct. And that, you can pay that in full, or you can be assessed, if you don't pay it at that date in full, you'll be, on your tax bill, you'll see $749 each year.
Whether you're connected or not?
That's correct.
That's what I need.
Yeah.
So there's no mitigation for that? Okay.
Start his time now, please, Mr. Donaldson.
I'm Steve English. I'm a Port Salerno resident. I'm here to object to this project as it stands. The cost is too much. It's way too much for this area compared to other projects. The cost is not $12,000 for this project. The cost of this project to each homeowner is $17,000. It's $15,000 because nobody can hardly afford to pay for this thing out of pocket. So it's $15,000 plus $2,000 to connect. That's $17,000. And if you hook into the water, you're looking at another $2,500. So we've got $19,000 per household that we're going to be expending for this, and you will make it mandatory to hook in for water eventually, so I'm told. So that's the actual cost of this system. It's not $12,000, it's $17,000. The problem we have too is if you have vacant lots that you don't intend to build on, that are part of your property, but they were deeded separately, you pay the same amount for those. So some of us are on the hook for not $15,000, not $45,000, $50,000, $60,000, $75,000. Our Methodist Church in Port Salerno will be billed $75,000 because of the way their property is set up. The church cannot afford this. That is too much. It's wrong. Had we known prior to a week ago about what all the parameters were of this, and we asked over and over at meetings and different people, what are we going to do? Who's going to be charged? What properties? How's it going to be done? We could get no answers. And then we had a meeting 1 week prior to y'all making your decision. And in that week, we've got to try and figure out what's best for us on our properties, and we can't do that. We don't have the time. So for that reason, you should postpone this until we get have time to go through this and do the right thing. Let's see what else. People this Port Salerno, New Monrovia area, we're all working class folks. We don't have that much money, contrary to what people believe. We don't have that much money. The average citizen in this locale, you're looking at 1/3 of their yearly income to pay for this system. How many of y'all will take 1/3 of your annual income and put it into the sewer system? That's not right. That's too much. I've looked at other areas or tried to come up with numbers on other areas. I've got 3 so far. That's all I've gotten, and out of all the projects. Port St. Lucie, their residents pay $5,000 to hook into this system, including hooking into from their house to it, taking out their old septic tanks, redoing everything. $5,000 for
Sir,
the
your time's
entire
up.
project.
Thank you, sir. Your point was clear. Thank you. Our next request to speak form is Miss Jennifer Dodson Cody Kemp. Miss, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the time.
It's your time.
My name is Jennifer Dodson Cody Kemp. I was born and raised in this community. I've lived here on septic my whole life, and while I agree with the project, I think it's good for the community, it's good for the environment. The questions that I have, and you've spoken to this, Mr. Chairman, are the communications. I just found out about it. I own property here. My family still lives here. My family is part of the founders of this community. And the communication was very lacking. Once I got this letter, I started making phone calls. I spoke with Commissioner Hurd. I've spoken with Mr. Phil from Utilities, as well as some other people, some attorneys, trying to figure out another way. I was basically told, you know, you guys approve every assessment. You've never not approved an assessment. And while I understand that, I would challenge this board to be more solutions-oriented for this. This community has founding members that can't afford this. And SHIP is great. SHIP does the same thing that this lien will do. It's a tax lien. So in addition to having a lien on the houses where developers can come in and buy these tax certificates and take over our properties, also, when you have a lien on your house, I'm sure you all know, you can't do anything with it. You can't access equity, you can't sell it, you can't do anything when you have a tax lien. SHIP does the same thing as far as basically a lien. You have to stay in your house so many years. It's not that terrible because we have some families that are going to stay here forever. They're not looking to sell their property. They have laid claim to this community. They've given their souls to this community, and that's what we want to preserve. So again, challenging you guys to try and find another option to help pay for this. Like Mr. Lewis just said, you know, there's not enough time. I mean, literally, this landed in our lap. I live in Fort Lauderdale, although my family still lives here. I drove down to the workshop last Thursday. I drove down here last night to be here this morning to speak. We need more time. And I have started petitions. I'm trying to get our community involved. And thank you so much for everyone coming out. We are going to petition, you know, Mass, Rubio, Snyder, Harold, these people that are offering funding for this project, which I appreciate, but you got, Palm City got 10.5 million, we only got 8.5 million. So that's on us. We need more time to get these legislatures that are representing us to pay attention to us, and that's what we want. We just want more time. The project is a good project. I want the project. Everyone I've spoken to wants the project, except for a couple of people that had just built homes. Obviously, they've put all of this money in to septic, and we, you know, that's obviously something else that maybe needs to be worked out. But we will not be driven from our homes with a slick government land grab. I can promise you that. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Anyone else that would like you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Cecilia Smith, born and raised here, worked for the bus driver for 35 years, lived in Jensen Beach. My mother still lives there, and I live in Port Salut. I'm a home owner. My problem, it is good. One thing I would like to say, you said this project has been coming on forward. I never received anything. I read my mail. I don't throw my mail. I never got anything in the mail about we were having this sewer thing. I totally do believe it is a good project. So that one thing, I never got anything till I got the one about the meeting at the library and then the meeting here today. I do know about SHIP because I've used SHIP before. I've also used SHIP for my aging mother and grandmother in Jensen. I have called SHIP. I have called SHIP all year long. There are no funds. I called SHIP when I left the meeting last Thursday, and she said, well, she couldn't even put my name on the list, as we was told. But she said, man, here, get your name on that list. actually said to me that there are people on the waiting list now. Their funds will be available in July for those people that are already on the waiting list. And if there are extra funds, then you can fill out an application, but they will not be available until July 24. I'm hearing something about CDC that nobody brought up. They're supposed to be doing some kind of grant, so maybe somebody can help us out on that. Are we not understanding that homeowners insurance, my homeowners insurance has went up twice. That's on my taxes because I have my stuff escrowed. It's not that I'm trying to get out of anything, but now $794 more dollars. Yeah, I'm thankful. I'm glad I retired from the school system. So, I'm a one-person income home. And that is a lot that I fear for, that my taxes go up, my mortgage has went up. I'm going to lose my home that I worked hard for. That part does. I do have a problem with that. As you're saying that, if the question was asked about, did we have the opportunity to opt out to this? In the meeting at the Rocky Point that we had, and you were there, sir, it was said that yes, we did. On Thursday night at the meeting where we were over at the library, we said that we could not opt out of that everybody had to do it. I just feel like that we didn't, in that meeting, I left from there just as more confused than I was because I didn't get answers. There was a gentleman outside, there was one of you all that I don't even know his name, but I did hear him say that they didn't tell y'all everything. I need to know everything. I'm a detailed person. I want to see everything. What it's going to cost me, the $12,000, and if I find it's just $15,000, as Mr. Lewis has said, plus to hook it up for my house, what's going to happen to my septic? Do I have to pay for that to be removed? I should get some credit for putting my septic in, even though I've been in my house. I had to pay for that. Something. So not here to trying to bash this sewage, but just a lot of questions. And honestly, standing here right now, I cannot afford anything else to go on my taxes. Is there any other option, any other way that we can pay this money? But we were told no, either pay it in full or it's on your taxes. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else would like to speak to us on this topic? Seeing none, I had a staff dais light on. Was that an old light?
No, old.
Okay. A lot of food for thought. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, how long is this bid good?
The bid is good for 90 days, and we're coming up against that window of time.
Okay, well,
I absolutely sympathize with the people who were here today. They are in old, established neighborhood. There are low-income people for whom this is going to be a real challenge, and it doesn't look like there's any good way out. It is a good project. I want to see the project go forward, but I don't want to force people out of their homes either.
I would agree. I don't disagree with what we heard about that normally the board approves these assessment requests as they come forward. We have some people that have said, hey, look, it's a challenge here and there, but every community is completely different. When I got the calls probably Thursday, Friday last week, it gives a different perspective. I very much appreciate you all taking the time this morning to come. We only know what we know, and what we educate ourselves with the information from staff. Based on, what I'm hearing and, knowing the scenario here, I would have to say that one of my things, my concern was, my fear was that if you step out of the line, that I don't know where you come back in, because we've never had a neighborhood step out of the line of, like the progression line of the projects. I think even if we delayed it to allow more community education and outreach and information, I don't think that changes the dollars and cents of what you heard. You just know more about it. So I don't know about my colleagues, but I would tell you that I would be voting no on moving forward today. I think I can't with a straight face look at you and tell you that, yeah, this is okay. And, Mr. English, you were not wrong. It's $12,000 to get you started on $749 a year for 20 years on your tax bill, and it is a lien. So you were right, but that just gets you started. It doesn't connect you. It doesn't do it. So now you're talking not 11,000, which look, 11,000 might as well be 110,000 for some people. And for some people, it's $110. It's all relative. But there are additional costs, and, you know, in an effort to give you that level of quality service and to protect our environment, and you have to fit the bill, I could not vote today to do that. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful for staff to maybe respond a little bit to some of the questions or the comments, because I think there was stuff that was thrown out that I just think we need to confirm, not confirm some of the stuff that was said. So what is an actual unit cost to hook up?
Per equivalent residential connection is the $11,924, or the option of paying it on the tax bill for 20 years.
Right, and the dismantling of an existing septic tank, how does that happen? Who pays for that, and is that part of that cost?
In the case of Golden Gate area, staff went out to bid for contractors to do that physical on-site work. We also applied for grants, which we got. So in the case of Golden Gate, and we hope we're successful on this project as well when it's completed. For instance, bids came in that if a septic tank is located in the front yard out near the street where the connection is, up to 45 feet away.
Correct.
It was $1,850, I think. And then we had a grant for $1,000 to buy that down. So the cost to property owner was $850 for the connection. And staff, through our contractors, takes care of that connection, makes sure that it's done properly, septic tank abandonment, and then restoration.
Okay, so now it's 11,000 plus 800, roughly
850.
850.
850. So you're at 12.
1250.
I'm sorry, what was that? Speak up.
1250.
1250.
1250. Okay, so are there any other costs associated with that?
Not as far as the on-site connections, that takes care of everything.
Okay, so if someone is trying to understand here today, what is their cost of doing, it's 12 something.
12,774.
Okay, because there were some other numbers thrown out, and I'm just trying to confirm, is there something we're missing? Am I missing something else?
No, sir, I had conversations with some of these people, and there was a lot of numbers being thrown around that I tried to correct for these people, but it's either disinformation or whatever the case may be.
And the SHIP issue on funding with SHIP, what do we know about SHIP, and what availability is there for SHIP, and what kind of waiting list, because that wasn't discussed relative to SHIP, so.
I can tell you that at our staff level workshop, we had a stack of flyers for the SHIP program at the table, and those were pretty much gone at the end of the discussion. Mr. Duncan here reached out to that program before we had our staff level workshop. His understanding is they're receiving a lot of funding. We didn't hear what the exact amount is, that it would be available with this budget in July 1, and that the portal for signing up would be opened by July 24th, I believe it is.
Okay, so just to confirm or understand what all that just means. So the state's budget, which the governor just signed this week, last week, whenever that was, that goes into effect July 1st?
July 1,
1st?
correct.
So those funds that would be allocated to SHIP for this coming fiscal year would be available July 1st?
That's our understanding, and they'll open the portal on July 24th to allow people to sign up.
And so those funds that would be able to be applied for a resident that were in this neighborhood, they'd be able to apply, but you're 2 years out, or you're a year and a half out from those connection fees being realized.
The payment, lump sum payment due would be next August of '24.
Okay.
So if they applied, they could apply for payment of that assessment, and it would be paid at that time, I presume.
Okay, so just trying to outline the various options of what exists, but we don't know yet. I mean, I suppose we know what was in the budget for the governor's budget for SHIP, but in terms of how that all gets allocated, that's hard to say. What else was commented on? The funding for Old Palm City versus the funding for this, how does that work?
Last June, we went out to bid for Old Palm City. We opened bids in early August. When we opened the bids came in $10 million over our engineer's estimate. We turned right around and immediately applied for a grant with the state of Florida for an additional $10 million. We were awarded that amount. The grant agreement is in-house and will come before this board on July 11th for acceptance of that grant for Old Palm City.
Okay, and so for this project, we have received 9 million, 8 million?
$8,500,000 plus the other contributions.
Okay. And is there the possibility of getting more funding from the state for this project, or no?
I would defer, but I believe that at this point in time, all the funding's in place to try and get a grant, and with this short window for these bids that are open right now, to move forward on this right now. I don't see how we would get a grant for this.
Okay, I did, like Palm City, I mean, if we had to go back out and find more for Old Palm City to make that happen. And so I'm just wondering what the likelihood or the possibility, one of the speakers talked about reaching out to our legislators and seeing if they were able to do something one way or the other, which at this point for this budget cycle, that would be done at the state level. For next year, there's certainly the possibility to go get more, and I have no doubt that our staff will continue to research and go find more funding. I would share this with all of the residents. The amount of money that is being allocated to septic to sewer conversions statewide is unprecedented in terms of the state's funding allocations. There are federal dollars that are also flowing that we have not seen anything close to what is happening. So I can't sit here today and tell you I could guarantee you that we could get more money for the project, but the amount of money that is being allocated for these types of conversions is more than we've ever seen. And so whether this gets denied today or deferred today or not, we and our staff and your legislature will keep following the funds to find out where we can get more. And I think that's the best we can offer. I mean, at this point, I mean, if it gets put off, then it gets put off, and then I don't know what the answer is after that. But
Mr. Donaldson?
Yeah, just in terms of the projects, the board has had a goal of keeping all projects at or under $12,000 per assessment. And so the project in Old Palm City was similar, actually unit price was similar to this, was not Mr. Keithley. So our impetus for going for the grants was to have parity between one project to the other. Where we have had some differential, if you will, in projects is some of the grants that Sam has got from the Indian River Lagoon Council on that $1,800 hookup. So I think the board has the ability to look at that hookup fee, which we've done in the past, which is not the hookup fee, but it's the tank abandonment. So you have, Mr. Keithley pointed out that the roughly $12,000 included all of the installation of the vacuum system plus whatever cost that you owe the utility to actually have the utility connection fee. So the only outstanding item is the actual tank abandonment and that last physical connection, which the last project was roughly $2,000 if you round up the last bid. So that's the area the board can look at in terms of if we were to delay the project and try to get more grants to get it to less than the $12,000. That would be slightly different than we've done the other project, but it's something, to be a policy decision. And the other policy decision would be related to that last $2,000 fee, whether or not there's direction from the board to either seek grants or find a way that that can be that piece can be solved. And the last thing I'll say is that this project is unique in that it's not unique, but the fact is that we're talking about the funding or the assessment costs not being applied to the homeowner for over a year from now. So the board, I think ultimately in their policy decision is to defer action today and seek, alternatives, or if you approve action today, and then provide staff with direction on your policy regarding that $2,000 or other fees that might be able to reduce it between now and August of next year.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Heatherington.
I would disagree with some of these comments. As a single head of household, the insurance costs are killing me and many of us. So I certainly understand and sympathize that this is, a huge and significant addition, in addition to all of the, the other costs that we're bearing right now, like homeowners and just general supplies being more. So I don't know, I wouldn't want to throw out the bid, but it would be nice to see if we could extend. I don't know what kind of procurement flexibility we have, because I certainly would like to defer and see if we can work on getting the cost down. I thought we were trying to do less than $10,000 per household at one time, but I think that this merits thinking outside of the box and trying to work a little extra to see what we could do to buy down the costs. And I would like to just explore the idea of not letting go of the bid, because we know if we rebid it in a year from now, it's going to be increasing.
Commissioner Jenkins.
How long can we pause this until the grants are in jeopardy?
The grants have a life of 3 years.
Okay.
If you're under construction, physically under construction, during that period of time, you can apply for extensions.
What if it's not under construction?
You cannot apply for an extension based upon the rules.
How old is the grant currently?
We just received this grant last, I'm thinking about 8 or 9 months ago. I believe the contract was approved probably within the past 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, but you still didn't, so status quo, how long until
2 extra years.
not apply, well, we can't apply for an extension. So how long from today till we're in jeopardy?
2.5 years.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Hurd.
Those are my questions also, so we have 2.5 years to be under construction.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I didn't.
Okay, so based on some of the feedback from my colleagues, I think one of the points that was made by a public comment that's a bit different is it's $11,924 if you pay it up front. If you divide the 740, if you multiply the 749 by the 20 years, it's $14,980. Now, of course, that's 20 years from now. That number doesn't go up or down. The $2,000 that Mr. Donaldson was speaking of is terrific, but if you can't do 12, 10's also a challenge, or 15 or 16 or whatever the case may be. And then there's also the conversation about some folks own multiple lots, and yes, you would be responsible for each of the individual lots. And then, you know, it would either force you to sell off the lot and put a house next to you, or so the concept of having a larger piece of property, if it legally is divided into lots, you're paying more than one share. And the SHIP funding, which I thought Mr. Emerson was an excellent suggestion, but I want to be careful that from this board, from your county staff and your commissioners, it's not guaranteed. We can't guarantee you today that you'd get that money. I do know that there's going to be more funding available. Like I had said, it sort of fluctuates year to year, but there's no guarantee. And then the comment that someone said, you know, about there's already a list of people that are on that line for all sorts of projects. And without that being here, we don't know. I wouldn't want to send you out with a false sense of security, thinking, well, I can get the SHIP money. And then you realize that there's, even with an abundance of SHIP money, if there's 60, 70 people on that list already, and you join the list, If all of you joined the list, some of you potentially could squeeze in before the money ran out and others won't. But I approved it as a blanket point. One of the advantages of coming and sort of discussing these issues, your concerns with your elected officials, is exactly what's happening right now. I came this morning assuming I was voting for this, because we have in the past. It's our goal to convert septic to sewer. It's what we have mandated our staff, and they're doing exactly so. I don't have any critiques or criticism of our staff. Mr. Keithley, Mr. Duncan, Mr. Emerson are doing exactly the board policy. But I think in my mind it starts to show that not every neighborhood, every community can be looked at through the same kind of parameters. This particular case, I mean, New Monrovia is a historic neighborhood. We've all been there. We know exactly what we're talking about. It needs to be addressed in a different way. So my suggestion, the chair doesn't traditionally make motions, but I would entertain a motion that would ask staff to keep an eye on that 2.5-year grant clock. You don't want to bite your noses to spite your face, and have our staff, which are very good at finding additional money. Like Mr. Keithley said, in Palm City, when we were 10 million short, we went back out. The advantage that wasn't mentioned thus far today is that several years ago, and Commissioner Smith up in Tallahassee sort of led the charge. Martin County, although a relatively small county, is known statewide for really leading the charge on this conversion with our key people. So when we ask for money in Tallahassee for the people that write the checks, we have a leg to stand on. We are not one of these communities that showed up late at the party. We've been doing this for Commissioner Hurd and Commissioner Smith have been up here a long time, and they've been pushing this since the beginning. So when we show up in Tallahassee, when our team does, with our hand out for some extra funds, we get it. Indiantown, although a separate community now, they, last year, I think if I'm not, Mr. Emerson, correct me, there was $400 million statewide available. Palm City got 10, Coral Gardens got 8, and Indiantown got 28.
Rocky Point was 10 million.
Rocky. So out of the 400 million for the entire state of Florida, we got a lot of it. So I feel comfortable that we can, in my opinion, send you out today knowing that we're going to take another crack at this. Now, maybe the number is going to be 6,000 or 7,000 or 5,000, but you'll leave today knowing that your efforts hopefully chopped it in half. There is a cost. And we can't, if we made it free for you all, then everyone behind you would expect it to be free from now on, as well as that would not be fair for the woman who said her mom lives up in Jensen. It wasn't free in Jensen. It's not going to be free in Palm City, but every neighborhood should be addressed specific to the community where it is, and I have confidence that we can work that around a little bit more. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I also have confidence, great confidence in our staff, and I'm going to move that we pause this project for 90 days, try to do everything we can to secure the bid, and to ask for additional grant money, and to evaluate the SHIP funding that will be available. I think 90 days will give us enough time to reevaluate some options.
Thank you.
But the first thing is to make sure that we secure that bid.
Yeah, you don't want to backtrack.
We're okay with the DEP grant. We got 2.5 years to
Want to hear from Don first?
to spend that money. But I'm nervous mostly about SHIP, about the bid, and about asking for additional money from the state. I think that this is a unique situation, a unique project, and I hope that it gathers new money.
Commissioner Smith.
I would also just, I second the motion, but also for discussion to also ask staff in the motion to reach back out and hold another informational discussion, whatever you want to call it, so that if there was confusion, if there were people who weren't able to attend, that got information from someone else, that we give everybody the opportunity to be very clear about what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, what this motion really means, what it looks like. Maybe we can get somebody from SHIP there to explain how the SHIP process works so that it's very clear for everyone, step A, B, C, D, and this is where you would fall if that all happens. I just think it's an opportunity to kind of polish up what we do on the outreach side of this. And I think it would be very helpful for everybody, including us even, to understand what all the different issues are and how it will help you all. If that's helpful to you, if you're
No.
willing and you think that's a good idea, I think our staff would be more than willing to do that, especially with the SHIP discussion as well.
Well, this just in, I see our director of purchasing came into the room to throw a stick in the spokes of our conversation.
Well, she's going to respond to the time frame from the bid we received.
Ms. Brotherton, you are recognized.
Good morning, Christy Brotherton, Chief Procurement Officer. The 90-day bid guarantee is actually up today. So the prices are only held through today.
That's just on that, but that's just on the bid.
On the construction, yes.
But that's not the grant dollars. The grant dollars are not in jeopardy of losing the grant dollars.
Okay, so
relative
that
to-
wasn't as
so
bad as.
So there's, well,
It's not ideal, but it's not as bad as it could have been.
so there's two different issues. One is the contract bid expires today, correct? But the grant money doesn't go away. I mean, I sort of was hearing a little bit that the grant money was in jeopardy of being lost at some point in time.
3 years.
Huh?
3 years.
2.5
So-
more years to go.
The grant money stays, but the bid does not, and we'll have to rebid, correct? Or can you negotiate with the bidder to hold that bid for 90 days?
We would have to request that the bidder hold their pricing depending on the timing. I'm not sure that's something they would agree to,
But
but,
it's worth asking.
right.
And I think in Commissioner Hurd's motion, the idea of 90 days is to re-explore our options, and hopefully the contractor agrees to exploring that. It doesn't change the relationship with the contractor, it just changes the relationship with, can we get additional funding? Are there different avenues to go in? But it's not in an effort to beat the contractor down, another $500,000 or $1 million. That's not my point of this.
Correct. Mr. Donaldson?
Yeah, so the two things. One is that with your motion, you can request that we ask the contractor to honor their price for 90 days, but it's on them to accept it. And then the other thing was just sort of the scale of the project, that roughly for every $1,000 reduction we're aiming to get for the property owners, we need $960,000 of some other source of funds, so roughly $1 million. So just in terms of the ability to significantly reduce the amount of this assessment, I think they're certainly working on the hookup fees. I think is certainly within the bounds that with approximately 2,000, that's another $2 million. But if the goal is to get it under 10 or something like that, it will more than likely require that the bids would expire. It would take some time to get other financial resources, so 90 days gives us time to explore that. I just wanted to put framework in terms of the size and scope of what we may be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, the bid guarantee changes things for me because they're depending upon today, they're going to be able to put their contractors to work tomorrow. So they may not be very enthusiastic about extending 90 days. But can we ask them today and continue this item until we've had an opportunity to talk to the contractor and find out whether they're willing to extend their contract, whatever it is, 60 days, 90 days, maybe 60 is a better number. I don't know, but securing that bid is extremely important to me.
I will take care of that as soon as I wake up.
Got to speak up a little.
Then I'll move to continue this item till the end of the day.
Or perhaps perhaps you could just take a break and you can go.
Well, we
attempt-
have a.
Okay.
two things in order to run the meeting. We are at our we're a couple minutes behind our closed captioning break. Someone is actually typing what we say for closed captioning that you probably see on the screen here. Normally by 10:30, we give them a break. I would prefer, and I hope you all would too, that we would take a 10 to 15-minute break. Allow Ms. Brotherton to work her magic on the contractor versus postponing it to the end of the day, then you're at home, postponing it for 2 weeks. I personally, in my opinion, and look, the contractor, I get it, my brother's a contractor. If you can't, we're not looking for him, her to shave the price necessarily. I think it's bigger than the contract bid. We're not talking about, hey, can we save $500? We're talking about trying to shave this. And as Mr. Donaldson pointed out, every $1,000 decrease would require nearly $1 million to be found or raised. So I'm thinking that we need to find $3, $4, $5 million, not $1 million. I don't even know how you do that in 90 days. I just think that the number that really makes a difference to me is the grant. And we have 2.5 years before the red light starts flashing. That's the only number I'm looking to protect, is the $8 million that we already have. If it's not this particular contractor, and if he says, yeah, I'll wait 60 days, we're not solving this in 60 days. I mean, our staff is great, but they're not Marvel superheroes. Some are. But the other thing I was going to say before we got into that conversation is that some of you this morning were remarkably articulate and tuned in. We would need your assistance with this. I know that Miss Jennifer Dotson, Cody Kemp, I like saying your name. Even when I first heard it, I'm like, ooh, 4 names. How about that? I think you are probably not even a secret weapon, but you're someone that we will rely on for your assistance. Your community needs you. And then there were some other very articulate, and when we're making grant opportunities, it does not hurt to hear from the community for the people that decide this. I feel today is a positive meeting. I appreciate that you came. I don't know if 10 minutes will make a difference in terms of the bid, because it's bigger than that, in my mind. So if Commissioner Hurd, if you want to go back to your original motion, I don't know if a 10-minute break for Ms. Brotherton to speak to the contractor. Yeah, I mean, that's assuming he answers the phone in 10 minutes,
Worth a try.
All right, but I mean, come back we'll take a 10-minute break, 15-minute break, and then we'll solve this when we come back. Or we'll decide. We're not going to solve it.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
You're on.
We are back from our mid-morning closed captioning break. We are continuing with our June 20th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting. We are more than halfway, nearly all the way through our agenda item, which was public hearing number 3. We had tasked our Chief Procurement Officer to contact the contractor, as well as the fact the name that we had mentioned quite often this morning, Miss Michelle Miller from Health and Human Services, is also here now to give us an update and a little more information on SHIP. But we will start with you, Ms. Brotherton.
Commissioners, I did reach out to Mr. Stringer, who is the Vice President of Centerline, our contractor, and he graciously agreed to extend his pricing guarantee for 60 days. So we have a 60-day window to work our magic.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Miller, are you familiar with some of the conversation that we've had thus far this morning?
I am, yes.
Okay, why don't you explain, just give us a little brief background of your department and SHIP, and then if there is specific opportunity for the folks here.
Okay, Michelle Miller, Health and Human Services. We have in our department our housing unit, and that covers multiple streams of funding that would cover any kind of water, sewer, conversions or hookups. So the first is our SHIP funding. We get a new allotment come July 1st. So if anyone is interested in being on a notification list, I would just encourage them to contact our office. We will put them on the list, and then as soon as that funding becomes available, we will call you, and then if you're income qualified, then you would get a letter of qualification for whatever services you need. And then we also have coming up in the fall community development block grant funds. Those will also pay for these types of services. That is a grant. It's not a lien. So SHIP funds, there is a lien attached to that. So it reduces a certain amount based on how many years you live in the home, and it's dependent on the amount. The community development block grant funds is not. So that basically is a grant, and you could use it for those same types of services, and that will be also available in the fall.
Can you give us an idea, if you know, how many, is there any allocation of funds have come down? Do you know?
From community development block grant?
Well, both.
Yes, so it's $750,000 for community development block grant, and SHIP, it'll be $1.8 million.
Okay, now there was a comment this morning that you already have a wait list on the SHIP for people that are already signed up, correct?
We do, but we're ready to open that back up again because we have started some new projects, so that is ready to be opened up again.
So now if the folks in the room have a project that's coming forward in a year or so, can they commit to funding through your office now, or do they have to wait? Give us kind of the feedback.
So if they get put on the notification list, and then when that new funding comes in, if it's for that year, so let's say that's 23, 24 funding year, then those funds could go to that year. But those SHIP funds also come in annually, so it would just go into whatever funding year was available. And the community development block grant funds are good for 3 years.
Okay, but that's 750,000.
Yes.
Traditionally, how quickly, I'm on your board with you, how quickly does those funds run out?
Well, the 750 will probably take us through the whole 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, so the SHIP funds, it just depends on, I would say, availability and projects as far as we have a certain amount of contractors and how fast they get the projects going. So it's hard to say how long it would take for the funding to be expended, but encumbered, we can get that encumbered probably within the year.
Okay, now when you said you have a list of contractors, the county has a contractor to do this work. It's not going to be one of your contractors.
Exactly.
So
right.
how would they qualify then for that? They won't.
Would be, since they were through you. Right, that would be, since they're county employees, yes. For the.
So we recently went out to bid for a pool of contractors to complete SHIP-funded projects. The way that it would work, the way that it's set up, which is a little different than what Michelle has done in the past, is as these projects would come up, Michelle has her list of contractors that she can contact. They get proposals from all of those contractors for whatever the scope of work is for, whoever the applicant is. And then they would take the best price, and that's how and then they would enter into an agreement to complete that work.
We got a lot, it's like a switchboard up here. Mr. Donaldson, you want to chime into what you just heard?
Yes, I just wanted to make a clarification that the SHIP funds would most likely be used for that portion of the project, which is that tank abandonment and that final hookup cost, which is separate from the assessment that we were discussing earlier today. The CDB funds, I believe, could be used for either. It could be help in paying the assessment, and it also could also be helped in paying hookup fees. So just in terms of the two different funds, one would only likely be used, the SHIP would be for that final assessment. The project's already done. I want to get rid of my septic tank and hook up to the county. That $1,850, I think that Phil mentioned that was bid out before, that would be paid for with SHIP. The CDBG is more flexible, and it could be used to help either pay your financing charges or or the hookup.
I appreciate that, and we have other lights, but the only thing I would say to that is that we were saying before the break that to lower the, let's call it the $11,924, just as a number, even though we know it fluctuates up and up, up and up. Every $1,000 to lower that number is $1 million. So I think that the SHIP or the CDBG is helpful, but it's, in my opinion, not the answer. Commissioner Smith.
Also, it might be helpful too on CDBG for staff to explain that process. So CDBG grants come back to us, or projects come to us, and someone has to make a decision who gets allocated. You can only have so many CDBG grants at one time, right?
Right, and we have one currently. So it is for rehabilitation, this specific grant, so it does cover this type of service, in addition to rehab a house.
But it would get allocated, it needs to get allocated to a specific project. It's not that we apply for those dollars and then we just arbitrarily put them somewhere.
Correct.
Everybody needs to leave here with as much information as possible so that they understand what really is at hand, what's available. So I think you did a great job on SHIP. I think now CDBG is a little bit more understandable, that we would still, I think, because we've done this in the past, we have to decide to say, if we're going to apply for that CDBG money to go to this project, we would have to do that.
Well, we already have done that, and the funds that we're getting.
For this year coming?
Yes, for the funds that are coming, yes.
And where are they allocated to?
To rehab.
Of where? This project or?
Well, it could be multiple projects. It just depends on if the person is income eligible.
Okay, I'll ask, if we had a prior agenda item when we had already allocated all of those to another project, it wouldn't be available.
Correct.
That's what I'm kind of getting to.
Right, but we haven't done that yet, correct?
So we will need to do that.
Yes.
And if we were to take action today or decide that when those funds become available from CDBG, we would want them to go to this project.
So how it works is you can't say it can only go for one specific thing. It's whatever the grant will allow. So we could say, yes, it's all going to be for rehab, but included in rehab would be any kind of water connections.
Maybe I'm just not saying this right. So if another neighborhood came to us next week, that money would be already allocated in from the board's direction. You wouldn't be able to use it twice.
Right, it hasn't been allocated yet, correct.
I just want everybody to leave here saying there's potential money from CDBG.
Yes.
We haven't allocated it yet to anything.
Correct.
And it would sound like today that we would want it to be allocated in this direction versus coming to us next week with another agenda item and said, oh, by the way, we have this other project over here. We've already thought about allocating it to this.
Correct.
Mr. Donaldson?
Just as a point of clarification is that I think as one of your strategies, staff has looked for knowing that septic to sewer hookups is a priority and a challenge for folks to pay that last line of connection, is that we've already applied to CDBG with the concept that it can be used for water or septic to sewer hookups, irrespective of which project in the county you're going to use. So it's not that you'll have to allocate it to New Monrovia. It's already available to any septic to sewer project in the county where somebody needs hookup fees and they follow the criteria that allows them to meet the grant requirements, meaning income eligibility.
My whole purpose for that conversation was that there's only X amount of dollars that are
Yes.
going to be available in that fund. And if everybody were to leave today saying, oh, okay, there's $750,000 available over in this fund, we'll all be able to get that. It may be consumed by others
Yes.
or other projects unless we said something otherwise.
Yes.
And there will be a workshop that will be available as soon as all the monies are received. We're required to have a community workshop, so we can put that information on our webpage so everybody will know to come out and they can get very specific information that day.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurd.
So to summarize, there are CDBG and SHIP funds available, and they're unallocated, so applications can be made for assistance given income eligibility. Also, we've secured our bid for 60 days, so I would move that we pause this for 60 days and that we ask for additional grant money from the state, that we, before it comes back to the board, that there needs to be another meeting with the community, much like the meeting that was a week or 10 days ago, or whenever these residents became aware of the project, and that we work very hard to get additional state funding for this project.
Commissioner Smith.
I'll second that again, and just to add to the commentary of that, that we also, as maybe from the chair, reach out to our delegation with a very specific ask for additional funds. That are there something that we don't know about? Is there a way through what just happened with the budget approval? Are there any other additional funds that our delegation may be able to draw down to assist in this project?
That too.
Thank you. Here's my opinion on this, and I'm Michelle Miller. I appreciate you very much coming to share that, because we were sort of guessing prior. I want to be clear that both the SHIP funds and the CDBG grants are specific pots of money that are available for any resident in Martin County for a multitude of projects. We said every 1,000 off of the 12,000 requires $1 million. So I don't want to mislead any of us to think that, one, the 700, because a month from now, the Palm City folks are going to hear that same comment, and they're going to want to have $1,000. If you're a multiple lot owner, you can't apply for a CBDG grant for Lot A and B and C, so you're only getting one. I think it's helpful. I think it's sort of like paying for the dessert, but you still had to pay for the meal. And so I'm leery of the motion, because I don't know if it really sends these folks out. 60 days in the government is 15 minutes. And so I think what we, just as my suggestion, Mr. Keithley said that the grant, the big money that is specifically allocated for your community, $8 million, has a 2.5-year life expectancy. That's more reasonable. I would hold the project indefinitely until because you need $2, $3, $4, $5 million that is specifically allocated to this community, because leaving here, we'll know, but the folks will leave saying, well, I can tap into some of this. Michelle will tell you, you have a group, right? There's a board. I sit on it, the AHAC.
Yes.
They determine some of these things. Some of you, lucky for you, your income, your financial circumstances won't let you qualify for this. You're in that weird set of circumstances where you don't have so much money that it doesn't make a difference, but you have more money than would allow you to qualify for things. But there's still a sting of the price tag, and that's the tricky spot that most Americans find themselves in. You make too much money to qualify for all sorts of extra, but you don't have enough that it's no big deal. You're there. I think we need to send staff out with a clear direction of Commissioner Smith, the concept of reaching out to the delegation, as one of our speakers said, that she will. I'm sure quite effectively. So will our staff. Brian Mast, we haven't even talked about CARES dollars. I know that there's a lot of CARES dollars that are still sort of like, they had commitments that are now sort of failing. George Stokas is our expert on CARES dollars. You need to be thinking in terms of $500,000 to $1 million plus to really have a difference in what we're talking about today. Because if we lowered this down $1,500, I don't know, I mean, it's terrific, but I don't know how much we really assisted you. So I would hope that maybe 60, if you want, we could do the 60-day thing as just a starting point, but I'm telling the residents and our staff, it's going to be much heavier than that, and it's going to take much longer than that to bring in. I think that a great goal would be $5 million.
I think a great goal would be $10 million.
Of course.
But buckle up.
Well, no, and I get it. And so our staff has got a long history of being able to figure this out, not just the three gentlemen and purchasing and health, everyone. Our legal department, because remember, Palm City folks, there's wealthy people in Palm City, but there's plenty of people that are in the same financial situation that you're in, and a month from now, they're going to be sitting in those seats, having watched this most likely, and want the same thing. And so every community is the project scope is different, the environmental impact is different. But I see Palm City, old Palm City, and, from an environmental point of view, being similar to this. So I think we need to think bigger. So we do, I don't know if that sways any of my motion makers and seconders, but I think we're sort of there. Here comes Commissioner Jenkins.
So the motion just brings us out 60 days to have the same conversation.
Correct.
Which we very well, at that point, may do, forced into do, exactly what you're talking about. Correct?
Okay, but I just don't want to send people out with the wrong concept.
Well, I think you cleared that up.
Okay, I appreciate that. Commissioner Smith.
I think the 60 days helps us all focus on the effort, and I have no doubt from our residents that they will focus on the effort. So with your help, maybe our help, maybe we'll spring something up.
Okay, so as long as we're clear. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd to extend this process for 60 days. And in the meantime, staff will unearth all sorts of opportunities for grants, and then there'll also be another meeting, a community outreach meeting sometime within those 60 days. Well promoted through this group. This is a group representing a portion, but please spread the word to your neighbors. And then also if not for this, even one of the advantages for Ms. Miller is if you have other projects, if you have other things, she has a list of things that qualify. So maybe today's, your hours that you spent here with us will give you the understanding you could apply for something else. If you're replacing windows, front door, you got an issue, please look into our Health and Human Services Department with Ms. Miller to see if you can access those funds for something else. Commissioner Smith, this is the final word.
Thank you. Just a quick thought. If staff would put a letter of thank you appreciation to our contractor for on the fly giving us 60 days, that probably got breezed over way too quickly.
Say his name again.
Centerline.
It's Randy Stringer with Centerline. I can provide the information.
And meanwhile, they're superstars. They're local. They're great.
I think it would be appropriate to tell them thank you for an on-the-fly agreement.
Yes, so with that, we have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. It'll be a busy and active 60 days, and we'll see you again. Thank you. To our staff, thank you very much. Okay. Maybe we're going to be here the whole day anyway. Let's do board and committee appointments with Ms. Donna Gordon. The first one is BNC number 1, Historic Preservation Board appointments. Commissioner Smith?
Can we appoint 2?
Yeah, really.
No?
Come on.
Really, for the Historic Preservation Board, we can't make more?
You got to change the ordinance.
Well, I'm not how many are on the Historic Preservation Board? Why don't you take your position?
7.
Because I agree. Both of these voting issues today were probably two of the toughest we've ever done. I have.
And if that's so, if we have to do something to the ordinance, can we
Yeah.
hold at least the Historic Preservation Board until next meeting to do an ordinance change?
We had one, that makes it 8.
Ms. Gordon?
Donna Gordon, for the record, I wouldn't know how to change the ordinance.
We have someone that
Legal
does.
thing.
You got to speak into them. Come on now.
Microphone.
Excuse me, Sarah Woods, Martin County Attorney for the record. I'm checking to see if it's set by state or county ordinance, so I'll update you as soon as I see it.
Well, let's do this. Why don't we go with the assumption that we do have the ability to extend it? If we do, then we can, and if we don't, then we can't.
But again, we still need you to appoint somebody, please.
Do that. How many people were, that was between, how many people were on that?
Yesterday was the Historic Preservation Board meeting, and they were looking forward to having a member appointed. They mentioned it yesterday. I was there.
We're doing a special, buy one, get one free. How many people were on that list?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's take a moment.
It looks like it's in the ordinance, so you could direct, after you appoint someone, you could also direct us to amend if you want to add another position.
I would. So often it's a hard thing to get people to sometimes apply to our boards.
Right.
And then when you get really good people.
To expand it, and then we can make a motion to add 2 people.
Well, no, you can't add another person until you've amended the ordinance. So you would need to appoint one person today,
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
and then amend the ordinance, and then you would solicit again for that additional seat.
That sounds like a plan.
It would be an even
Yes,
number.
not our first day.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a historic preservation. They're not going to have tie votes. Right?
They're a decision-making body.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we want to add 2 people?
Yeah.
2 additional?
7, 9.
So we have 7? It will change their quorum, but they had a quorum
Makes sense.
yesterday.
More people could potentially come and create the quorum. You have what you need?
Yes. Mr. Rob Steele received 4 votes, and Mr. William Weiss received 1 vote.
Weiss,
Weiss, excuse me.
Willie Weiss.
Approval of Rob Steele?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we ask staff to bring back an ordinance change to modify the number of Historic Preservation Board members from 5 to 7?
7 to 9.
Oh, 7 to 9, from 7 to 9.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith to add 2 positions to the Historical Preservation Board, taking us from 7 to 9. It was seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That
And then,
motion carries unanimously.
just a quick comment, Mr. Chair, can we please notify the applicants that didn't get chosen, that we're doing that, so that they don't feel somehow that they were not chosen? Because I would absolutely
And their
have appointed
applications? Do they
2
have-
of them
Correct,
today.
I agree with you. Do they have to reapply, or can we just vote from the people that were already in? I guess you'd
Ask
put it,
they reapply because things can change.
okay. Understood. Oh, I guess I have to announce it. Our next agenda item is B and C, number 2, Value Adjustment Board appointment.
I just want to come down and see you.
For 1 person on the Value Adjustment Board, and Ms. Diane Castellucci received 4 votes. Move approval of Diane Castellucci.
Lucci.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Hurd to keep Miss Diane Castellucci on the Value Adjustment Board. It was seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Ms. Gordon, thank you very much. Our next agenda item is public hearing number 1, public hearing on proposed Martin County Trico settlement, Ralph Perry, an individual versus Dylan Edward Hadaway, and Martin County Fire Rescue, Martin County Board of County Commissioners. It'll be presented by, look at you, and you're wearing your old hat. Or is this your current hat? What are you?
Current hat.
All right. Mr. Matt Graham, and it looks like he will be assisted by Miss Elise Elder. Sir, you are recognized.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Matthew Graham, Assistant County Administrator. Today, I'm here before you to conduct a public hearing on the case of Ralph Perry versus Martin County Board of County Commissioners. In accordance with the procedure for TRICO settlements established by the board, the public is provided an opportunity to comment on the proposed settlement. The case arose from an accident when Mr. Perry was a passenger in an ambulance that lost control and rolled over. Mr. Perry sustained injuries and filed a personal injury lawsuit against Martin County. A negotiated settlement was reached, and TRICO is paying $100,000 on behalf of Martin County. It is the recommendation of Relation and our outside counsel, Mr. Gary Dundas, that the settlement is in the best interest of the county. The recommendation is moved that the board conduct a public hearing, receive public comment on the proposed settlement by any member of the public and any member of the Board of County Commissioners. And 2, move that the board direct staff to notify TRICO that the settlement procedures have been completed and that the settlement should be finalized. This concludes my presentation.
Was Mr. Perry 100,000 or 200,000?
I'm sorry, 200,000.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay. Questions for, oh, we don't do questions.
We don't do questions.
Just hearing it and
Just
that's
hearing
it?
it and
Voting. Public comment.
asking for public comment. Yes, sir.
Is there anyone that would like to address us on this topic from the public? We do have one. Mr. Pine, good morning. When you're done, if you could fill out a form.
Sir. Good morning, Commissioners. I do have a question. The cause of the accident, who was a cause? Who was, anybody held with the cause of the accident? And was there any violation of department rules when he was being transported? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think those, we're not going to get into those, but those answers can be afforded to you after the fact, if they're available. I know there's Ms. Elder, can you speak to our public commenter?
I'm not aware of any discipline as a result of that accident, so I don't think any departmental rules were violated. Oh, Elise Elder, for the record. As far as whether or not there was a ticket issued, I'm not aware of that, so I don't have information on that. We send those cases outside. Gary Dundas represents the county on behalf of TRICO, so we're not that involved in the lawsuits.
Commissioner, if I may,
Yes.
it was raining that day, and the driver was the vehicle was turning. As he was turning, it rolled over, and the passenger sustained injuries, along with another member, which is public hearing number 2.
Correct. The passenger was the patient.
The
was
patient,
on
yes,
the
sir.
stretcher. Yes, I've heard anecdotally about that it was actually code 2 or 3, which means, responding with a patient to the hospital, based on what I've heard. We have a motion. Do we have a motion in a second?
There's no motion needed.
Oh, so that's it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Public hearing number 2, public hearing on a proposed Martin County TRICO settlement, Emily McBride, an individual versus Dylan Edward Hadaway, and Martin County Fire Rescue, Martin County Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. I'm here before you today to conduct a public hearing in the case of Emily McBride versus Martin County Board of County Commissioners. In accordance with the procedure for TRICO settlements established by the Board of County Commissioners, the public is provided an opportunity to comment on the proposed settlement. The case arose from an accident when Ms. McBride was a passenger in an ambulance that lost control and rolled over. Ms. McBride sustained injuries and filed a personal injury lawsuit against Martin County. A negotiated settlement was reached, and TRICO is paying $100,000 on behalf of Martin County. It is the recommendation of Relation and our outside counsel, Mr. Gary Dundas, that this settlement is in the best interest of the county. The recommendation is move that the board conduct a public hearing and receive public comment on the proposed settlements by any member of the public and any member of the Board of County Commissioners. And 2, move that the board direct staff to notify TRICO that the settlement procedures have been completed and the settlement should be finalized.
Thank you. Anyone from the public looking to address us on this agenda item? Seeing none. Any comments from the commission? Also seeing none. Sir, thank you very much. Miss, appreciate it. Our next agenda item is public hearing number 4. Public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance amending section 67.201 nuisances declared, Article 7 nuisance abatement, Chapter 67 environmental controls, general ordinances, Martin County Code. It'll be presented by Miss Elise Elder, Mr. Jim Gordon, and Mr. Jeff Daugherty. The three of you are recognized.
Jim Gordon, Public Works Director, for the record.
A lot of new tasks.
This is a public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance that amends Section 67201 General Ordinances, Martin County Code, to require property owners to maintain weeds, brush, and undergrowth and excessive accumulation of trash on their property up to the edge of the street surface. So this is an existing code section that has been modified. The existing code had 2 sections, one related to weeds and grass, and then the other section related to trash. Both of those, we're extending the area that we can enforce against from the lot of record all the way out to the edge of pavement, because in many cases, the nuisance occurs in both locations, and under the current code, we aren't able to enforce in the area that's in the right-of-way. And then we added a section to the code that includes trees and brush that extend into the right-of-way that present a health and safety issue relating to potentially blocking sidewalks or signs or roadways. So that's what's been modified in the code, and we're here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Questions? So the gist is that there was a gray area from the sidewalk, in between the sidewalk potentially and the street, like in the swale in many neighborhoods where people, their yard was clear, but they threw it all in between, this closer to the road, that was not officially their property, and so you're just tightening that language up.
Correct, and it's consistent with many of our neighbors, so we were the outlier.
Neighbor counties.
Neighboring counties and neighboring municipalities, yes.
Thank you. Anyone from the public looking to address us on this agenda item? Seeing none. Back to the board.
Staff's recommendation.
Thank you. We have a motion to accept staff's recommendation by Commissioner Heatherington, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Mr. Daugherty, well said. Very, very articulate there. It was moving. Your comments were moving. Here we go. Departmental quasi-judicial number 1, request for revised final site plan for approval of Mariner Sands Planned Unit Development, track RC-2M174-017. It'll be presented this morning by Miss Elizabeth Noggle, with Elise Elder in assist. Ms. Noggle, you are recognized.
Excuse me, Chairman, this is a quasi-judicial.
Oh, that part. Since this is quasi-judicial, let me ask my colleagues if they've had any ex parte communications. I will start with you, Commissioner Hurd.
I haven't, and they've been filed.
Commissioner Jenkins.
If I have any, but they've been filed.
Thank you. Commissioner Heatherington. Thank you. Commissioner Smith. Thank you. I have none, and we filed that concept. Anyone that will be offering any testimony, please stand to be sworn in.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Ms. Noggle, do you have a copy of your work history and the agenda item that you would be submitting?
I do.
Let the record show as she is submitting it. Is there any return receipts requested?
No mailers were required.
No mailers were required. Are there any interveners?
There are no interveners.
So close. With that in mind, now you can begin.
Good morning, Commissioners. Elizabeth Noggle, Principal Planner, for the record. We're here today to talk about Mariner Sands PUD Tract RC2 request for revised final site plan approval by Mariner Sands Country Club, Inc. This is a request for revised final site plan for Tract RC2. The proposal includes demolishing and rebuilding the clubhouse and related improvements. The clubhouse tract is located generally at the northwest intersection of Southeast Mariner Sands Boulevard and Southeast Burning Tree Circle, approximately 0.17 miles northeast of Southeast Federal Highway. The zoning of the property is PUD, and the future land use is low density. A little site history, the Mariner Sands PUD was originally approved in 1978 for a golf course with a clubhouse and residential community. The clubhouse was constructed on this tract RC2 of the master plan in 1979 and expanded through a revised site plan in 2007. The most recent revision to tract RC2 was approved in 2014 and included revisions to the parking lot, new bag drop, and new golf cart parking. The proposal before you today is to demolish the existing clubhouse, construct a new approximately 33,849 square foot clubhouse. The existing storage building and bag drop is to remain. There are some minor revisions to the existing parking lot, golf cart parking area, and clubhouse drop-off. Access to the site will remain in place from Southeast Mariner Sands Drive and Southeast Club Lane. There are no preserve area requirements on this tract, and the proposal is consistent with the master plan and the PUD zoning agreement. This is an aerial view of the existing clubhouse with the clubhouse and vehicle parking, golf cart parking, bag drop off of Southeast Club Lane, and 2 access points from Southeast Club Lane and Mariner Sands Drive. This is the proposed site plan. The clubhouse is generally in the same location, and some modifications just to the vehicle drop-off and parking areas. And this is a closer view of the proposed clubhouse. Development Review staff reviewed the application and finds it in compliance with all applicable regulations of the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, as detailed in the attached staff report, and staff does recommend approval. Pursuant to Section 10.5.f.9, a review of the application before the local planning agency was not required. The recommended action is to move that the board receive and file the agenda item and staff report as Exhibit 1, and move that the board approve the revised final site plan for the Mariner Sands PUD Tract RC2 Clubhouse project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions for staff? None at this time. The applicant's representative.
Yes, good morning. Morris Crady here on behalf of Mariner Sands Country Club, senior partner with Lucido and Associates, and I have reviewed the staff report. I appreciate Mrs. Noggle's very comprehensive staff report. We're just rebuilding a new clubhouse on the same site, and after almost 40 years, I think it's about time, and we're upgrading it to meet all their current needs and services. I'm glad to answer any questions.
And you have been sworn?
I have been sworn in, yes.
Have they demolished the clubhouse already? Any possibility of teaming up with our fire rescue department to see if there's any kind of training can be done on that property beforehand?
I'll ask, but I'm sure there'll be no fire involved.
No, maybe not fire, but there's other training that could be done.
I'm not sure, but I'm sure they'll be willing to talk about it. Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Morris, just looking at the footprint, it looks like they're eliminating or downsizing significantly the dining room section.
Well, they actually, it is condensed. The footprint is smaller, but I think there's like 3 pieces of the dining room, so they've kind of reoriented the building to take advantage of the views.
So those octagons are part of the
extensions of the dining room, so
Okay.
they could add to it, yes.
I was just curious, it just looked like that whole eastern side used to be all, or was all dining room side, and
Yeah, they've been very cognizant of trying to maintain and improve views of their existing golf course and the mature vegetation that has,
it'll be stunning. It's just interesting.
Yep.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Anyone from the public looking to address us on this topic? Commissioner Smith?
If there is no public, move approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurd?
I just wanted to commend Mariner Sands. They've been an association for a very long time, 40 years, and they're so conscientious about continuing to improve their environs, and I'm so impressed. And also, the elevations are lovely. It's going to be, the elevations, by the way, are on page 568 and 569, and it's just going to be a stunning addition to our community, just like the additions, renovations that were made to Indian River Plantation at our last meeting. It's really nice to see these organizations reinvesting in their wonderful communities.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very nice. Is that a second?
It was.
Oh, fantastic. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith for staff's recommendation and seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's get one more in before Commissioner Jenkins passes away. Do you have a favorite you'd like to have as your last agenda item? We do have fire rescue here, so worst comes to worst. Departmental number 1, Office of Management and Budget items which require board approval. There'll be 2, and they'll be presented by Miss Jennifer Manning. Miss Manning, good morning. You are recognized.
Good morning, Commissioner. Jennifer Manning, O&B Director, for the record. I have 2 items on the agenda. I know they're not heard right now. But the first item is permission to accept the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant. It's for $66,520. And those funds will be used to support the juvenile diversion programs, staff training, and program expenses.
I'm leaving.
I don't smoke. I'm sorry, did you say something?
Okay. The second item is an amendment to the CIP for the Larry Masson Building Modification Project.
That is a beautiful title.
Yeah.
I saw that on the agenda item. Thank you very much for doing that, Mr. Doherty.
Yeah, so they're requesting an amendment for the CIP sheet as well as a transfer of $169,000 to remodel the floor plan, to do some classwork training session. They want to add the men and women's restroom facility. They want to also replace some of the flooring and some security and architectural and engineering. So
You've done a nice job with that, but when I heard it from Mr. Doherty, Mr. Doherty, could you come forward and
more fluffy, yeah?
No, it's just a little more detailed.
Okay.
He's in the trades.
Yeah.
To explain what's going to be taking place at the Larry Massing Building Department.
The building was originally constructed back in 2005 or 6, and it was constructed for not for the building department, so it wasn't necessarily laid out that way. The building department occupied it, and since that time, they've also taken on code enforcement and derelict vessels, so the operation's a little bit different. There's a large training room that is often used by many different departments within the county, as well as groups outside that are similar, such as a code enforcement training or something from many. There is only one men's and women's restroom. It's out in the public area. There's only one men's water closet. So when there's a break on the training days and that, it is very cumbersome with many people in there, particularly the lobby and noise. So we were going to add a men's and women's restroom behind, partially secured, so that there's a better flow of that. Additionally, when it was constructed, as you notice out in our lobby here, we have relationships between staff and our customers, and we have them to be able to come in and view with video or TV monitors type between the inside and outside so that they don't have to go through security. Over the years, security has become a bigger issue, so we will address that as well. The original flooring is in there from approximately 20 years ago, carpet, and we have moved away from that to vinyl tile and that, particularly with the COVID and better maintenance. So those are the main things, as well as a study for our future needs as we go forward. We've changed operations as technology has come, but we also have to be cognizant of our staff needs and the ability to serve our customers.
And to secure staff, because you do code
Yes.
enforcement.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it for that thorough clarification. Ms. Manning, anything else?
With that, I
Yeah.
can't do that. So
No, you can't.
I'm going to close the session at this point, and
Thank
if you have
you.
any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Commissioner Smith?
Move staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Smith for staff's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Heatherington. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Palm City resident Christy Heatherton, who's back. She already, who do you have with you?
I have a special guest.
Fantastic.
This is Christy Brotherton, Chief Procurement Officer, my star purchasing agent.
Seth McConney, purchasing agent, for the record.
Fantastic. Welcome. And?
City resident.
Good for you. Good for you.
Entire Palm City in purchasing. No.
Nothing wrong with that.
Before we start, Commissioners, based on our conversations earlier with the Port Salerno New Monrovia Vacuum Sewer Collection System and Neighborhood Restoration Project, items A1 and B1, we will need to withdraw. We will bring those back at a later date once we have gone through the 60 days. So with that being said, we will be presenting item A2.
Thank you, Christy. Gomez Corridor resurfacing for your consideration. Staff recommendation action. Move that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, C.W. Roberts Contracting, Inc., in the amount of $1,958,026.25, and move that the board approve the revised CIP sheet for Gomez Neighborhood Restoration Phase 1 and Phase 2 project that reflects the bid award, and move that the board approve a budget transfer to reallocate funding from completed projects, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And that concludes my presentation.
That was fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Smith?
Move staff's recommendation with the approval of A2 and the withdrawal of A1 and B1.
Second.
Thank you. I was originally going to be a no, but the way you sold it really tipped me over.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins, and for staff's recommendation, including the two withdrawn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. So write that down. You got, your first one was unanimous.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. See you in the neighborhood. Our next item is Public Works Departmental Number 3, update on the Hutchinson Island Shore Protection Project that will be presented by Miss Jessica Garland. A lifesaver. Probably doesn't live in Palm City, but she did save a life of a person who lives in Palm City.
Yes.
Who's with you?
Jessica Garland, Coastal Program Manager for the record, and I have Wendy Laurent from Taylor Engineering.
Hello, Wendy. Laurent,
Hello.
welcome.
So today, we are giving an update on the Martin County 4 Mile Beach Protection Project and the work we've been doing to analyze the resilience of our 4 Mile Beach project. And so I'm going to let Wendy take it away and give her presentation.
But before she starts, just want to let Wendy
Yes.
and her Ed and Taylor get a really excellent presentation at Florida
Just
Shore
took
Beach.
away what I was going to say.
Sorry, I just thought there was this has been put forth at a national conference and papers written about it. So just wanted
Who's
to.
Taylor?
Taylor Engineering is the company
Oh,
that I
Taylor
work for.
Engineering.
Yes.
Yes.
But that was Taylor back there.
No, Bruce Taylor is out sailing the sea somewhere, doing something fun, I'm sure.
Commissioner Smith?
Well, he stole what I was going to say because I was there too and I was sitting next to him like, wow, that was really something. We ought to get her to come present to us someday. So,
And here we are.
And here you are.
Now, the rest of us will get to decide if it's really as good as.
Well, the expectations are pretty high, but it was really something, so.
Thank you.
Ms. Laurent, you are recognized.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me today. Thank you for those positive comments. I hope I can live up to it. And I hope this is a fun presentation for y'all.
It's 4 minutes or less.
I'll go fast. Oh, I went too far back. Sorry.
Don't worry about her.
Okay. I'm trying not to get click happy here. But a little presentation outline, so I'll give you a background of the project information, and then we're really going to dive into what is resilience. It's a very hot word right now, and how it can be applied to beaches. We'll take a look at this beach and how it performed for Hurricanes Ian and Nicole, and then really what this study, what we're looking at. So here in this presentation, I was looking at different beach resilience metrics and how we could apply them to the project that we're working on right now. So a little bit about the project. Which beach project is this? You might be asking that. So this is the Shore Protection Project. This goes from the St. Lucie-Martin County line all the way down to what we call R25, which is located just south of the Marriott Resort. FDEP, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, establishes these R monuments, they're range monuments. This is where we take surveys every year of the beach so we can compare results, see how the beach is performing and how we need to adapt in the future. So this project provides not only storm reduction benefits, so it protects your infrastructure behind the beach, but it also has a lot of very positive recreational benefits and environmental benefits. So that's important to take into account. So right now the county is looking into ways that the project can be modified because we've seen it hasn't performed quite as we expect it to. And really, how can we make it more resilient in the future? There's increased storms. The berm is overtopped a lot. So we wanted to look into this and see how we can change things within federal guidance. So a little bit about the project. This project was authorized in 1990 in WRDA 1990. Following that, the Army Corps of Engineers developed the General Design Memorandum in 1994. So this is the playbook of the project. This sets the rules of the project, says how often you should nourish the beach, what those volumes are, and here it describes the project as first, a protective beach berm and storm dune along approximately 4 miles of Hutchinson Island. So we have that. It allows for periodic nourishment of the beach and adjacent shoreline for the life of the project, and it also requires multi-year performance modeling. So how has this project performed in the past? It's very highly dependent on storm activity. Storms come and go, and if storms follow each other very closely, such as Ian and Nicole, it's really hard for the beach to recover from that. So often, we see erosion of the dry beach, or what the public considers the beach, and if a storm follows soon after, the beach can't naturally recover, and we see rarely a full recovery of the beach. In the northern project area, we usually see increased erosion as the sand travels south, so the south project area is usually stabler. However, St. Lucie County recently brought online their South County project, so that's really going to help you guys in this northern project area, and we hope that we won't see as much erosion, and we've already seen those trends. But really exciting, we've seen a lot of dune growth in this project area, and dunes are a very good feature. They're almost the last resort when it comes to storms. They act as the last buffer there. How many of you are boaters? So you know a sacrificial anode on a boat. The dune and the beach berm act as that. We know it's going to erode, but it's going to protect you. So a little bit about the dune growth. Here on the left, you see beach profiles. So this is the project after each fill event. So we have August 2005, May 2013, June 2018, and June 2022. And you can see not only an increase in elevation of over 5 feet in the dune, but also seaward movement of the dune. So the dune is naturally growing here. And then next slide, we show also how the vegetation relates to the dune growth. So textbooks say if you have good vegetation on your dune, the dune will grow, and we're seeing that here in data. The green little points and the red arrow represent the dune, the edge of vegetation on the dune, and the blue line arrow there represents the toe of the dune. So as the vegetation is moving seaward, it's trapping sand in there, and it's also stabilizing the dune with its root systems. So that's very good. A little bit about the project history and when it's been nourished. There's been 6 nourishment events placing over 3.5 million cubic yards on the beach. And you'll see that the most recent 3 events, there was actually additional funding available, which is FCCE funding. That's government funding that's available following a storm event, and that covers about 20 to 30% of the project's costs historically. But this is still higher than the GDM and the LRR. Those are the authorizing documents stated, and those are the Army Corps documents. So we wanted to look into this and see what we can do to adapt the beach's profile template to make it perform better. So this is the beach template. The colored lines, the blue, the red, and the green, are all historic construction templates, while that dotted line hiding under there, that's our design template. The colored ones are advanced fill. We expect those to erode. That's the sacrificial anode we have there. And then once we hit the design template, we usually start talking to the Army Corps saying, hey, we're going to need another nourishment project in the next few years. We know this beach will continue to erode. Let's talk about spinning something up. So very importantly, in the design documents, this beach is referenced to tidal datum. So you'll see in green here, we have MSL, mean sea level, MLW, mean low water. So the design documents are referenced to a tidal datum instead of a geodetic datum. Tidal datums change over time. However, this project's tidal datum has not changed over time. So right now we're talking to the Army Corps, trying to figure out how we can change the project design parameters and increase the tidal datum to get more fill on this beach, raise the beach berm to account for current tidal datums that is more appropriate, not ones that are from 1990 and even predated because of that, because it focuses on a 20-year time period. So we're working on that. That's the overarching goal of this large project. So exactly what is resilience? It's defined by the government as the ability to anticipate, prepare for, and adapt to changing conditions, to withstand, respond to, and recover rapidly from disruptions. In this case, our disruptions are primarily sea level change and storms. Resilience is also a trait. Adaptation is the action. And the steps we're taking right now with the county is adapting the beach for these impacts. Oops. It's not just me. Okay, so now how do we measure resilience to sea level rise? That first requires picking a sea level rise projection. For this study, originally we were going to use the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Compact because that's what the county has adopted as their standards. However, because it's an Army Corps project, they asked us to use their curves. You can compare them on the right. So the Army Corps curves that we're using are the high and the low, so the red and blue solid lines. And in between, we have the dashed and dotted lines that represent the other projections there. So we're going forward with those Army Corps scenarios, and actually, historically, the project has been tracking with the Army Corps high. So really, that's what we're using in our modeling. And it's interesting, called out in the 1993 GDM, they actually note that if the upper limit of sea level rise does occur, it will increase shoreline recession and storm damages estimated for the project. So we've brought that to the Corps' attention, and we're focusing on that, saying this is why we need to adapt this project. So how exactly do we measure beach resilience? There's a few things. So first, we're trying to protect the important infrastructure located landward of the beach, be that roads, especially evacuation routes, people's homes, electrical power lines, many things. We're trying to protect those from sea level rise and storms. Those are our major stressors. And there's 2 important features. So we have our beach berm. That's where you'd like to sit your beach chair down. And there we can measure our beach width elevation, and the volume of that. And then our final line of defense is the dune. So we can measure, again, the width, the elevation, the volume, and take a look at the vegetation. So there's very simple methods to measuring this, or relatively simple methods to measuring this. It still takes time and a lot of procedures. So we can track elevations, those being mean high water, the berm, the dune. We can look at the width of the beach, look at volumes, look at vegetation coverage. And then there's some more complex methods. This is a relatively new thing. So all of these methods, there's not one set in stone that's an answer for everything, and every beach is different. So at the time of this presentation, I took a look at the last two on this list because they included the impacts of storms. And with Ian and Nicole had just passed at the time of this presentation, so I wanted to see how they performed for those storms. So now is the part with the pretty pictures of the beach. A little bit of a brain break here. So this is the beach prior to the storm. For this analysis, I just took a look at one R monument, and these are the photos that we have to the north and the south. So prior to the storm, the beach is pretty wide. It's in good condition. We knew it was approaching its design template, so it was going to be time for nourishment soon. And this is during Ian. This photo is very deceiving because when you take a look at the next photo, you actually see there's a scarp forming along the entirety of the shoreline. So the beach is serving its function, though, and protecting the homes and the roads behind it. Just right after Ian, you can see it didn't move too much from the photos during Ian. And then before Nicole, Jessica went out there and took these photos. The beach is smoothed out a little. It's still pretty steep. And it looks like it's encroached upon the dune, which you can see during Nicole. There was some overwash in this area, and a pretty significant scarp was formed in the dune. So here are some more photos of the sand on the walkover, showing that water was definitely coming through there. And these are pretty significant scarps. I would say they ranged from 3 to 5 feet in the dune. So a lot of that dune volume was gone, but it did serve as a really great storm protection. You can see the vegetation too, that root structure in there that helped keep it together. And we'll get into this analysis. So at the time, I did not have the buoy data from in the project area, and I'm sorry I did not update this with that buoy data. So we actually used the buoy offshore of Cape Canaveral, that 41009, and we got water level data from the closest NOAA gauges. So these are the 3 resilience methods that we tested out. So first we have the simple method, the contour tracking and volume analysis. Beneath that, you can see it does not include water level or wave information in this. However, we can pull that data into here. In the middle is the Coastal Resilience Index. This combines 5 different variables, and I crossed out berm volume and dune volume because it does not take volume into account. And then on the right, there's the engineering design parameter. This one's pretty complex, but broken down, it really focuses on intensity, or that's the storm intensity, over resilience of the beach. And you can actually customize this equation to what is the best fit for your beach. So the author of this has about 9 different equations that you can plug into here. I used what he suggested performed the best, but this can be optimized for your beach in the future. So a little bit about how they performed. First is the most simple analysis. If you look on the left, I have the change in shoreline position relative to the design template. So in June 2022, the design template at mean high water, so where the water is at high tide, was 12 feet advanced of the design template. Following Ian, we lost about 4 feet there. And then with Nicole, we lost an additional 7 feet there. It's interesting if you look at the subaerial volume, so that's the dry beach volume, the volume available above mean high water. In the October 2022, so following Ian, you actually see an increase because some of that sand in the near shore moved onshore. Whereas then in December 2022, you see that massive decrease of 11 cubic yards per foot as a result of Nicole. That's the purple line on that plot. So you can see all that volume loss that you saw in those pictures is here in the data. So now taking a quick look at the Coastal Resilience Index and how this performed. So if we look at the table on the left in the very bottom there, between June and October, so this is as a result of Ian, it decreased by 1.4 points. And then between Ian and Nicole, it decreased by 0.6 points. Just looking at the volume loss associated with this profile, I did not get the gut instinct. It did not perform as I expected it to. I thought the resilience of the beach following Nicole was much greater than a 0.6 decrease in points. So although it is a resilience index, I didn't think this was the one we wanted to use. Next. And then finally, this slide is a lot. Let's focus on the bottom table there. And here is the intensity and resilience metrics of each of the profiles. So the design template. Interestingly here, we talked about the dune growing earlier. The dune's grown a lot. It's actually larger than the design template right now. So that's why it has a very low resilience, because we're missing that dune volume that's currently out on the beach, which is good. We want a very resilient beach. So in June 2022, you see that resilience go up. The intensity is still low because I used average conditions for that month, no hurricane. And then come October and December. So October 2022, the intensity of Ian was quite high. And then we had a low resilience due to the decrease in berm width. So we lost that berm buffer of the beach where we saw the scarp and the dune was about to be eaten away. And then Nicole came through, and again, we had very high intensity there, decrease in the dune volume, but we did see an increase in the berm width. So a lot of the volume that was in the dune moved out to the berm. So that evened out the resilience metric. So on the right there, you see the numbers that vary from the 0.00038 to the 70.9. And I thought that this makes logical sense of what is the most resilient compared to the storms, and just a gut instinct there. A low EDP is either a resilient beach or a low-intensity storm. So the design template in June 2022, those were low-intensity situations because they were average conditions. And then a high EDP is a vulnerable beach or a high-intensity storm, as we see for both Ian and Nicole. So just a quick comparison of these and what we used moving forward. So the contour tracking and volume analysis, that is the most simplistic, easiest method. However, the engineering design parameter, although we're not using it in our reporting, it is a really great opportunity for the future, because if you fine-tune this for your beach, if you have enough data, which the county does, you have really great beach profile surveys. And also, you have extensive data related to the wave climate in that region, because there is a buoy in the project area. So this could be fine-tuned, and you can actually use it as a forecasting tool. So if you take a look at all the historic data, you can see a storm coming in, put in the storm parameters, put in your current beach parameters, and see what the impacts are going to be to the beach. Try and predict that before the storm comes through and see whether or not it performs as expected. So some quick conclusions. So beach resilience directly relates to the buffer volume and the recovery time and conclusions. Ian and Nicole were right after each other, so there were pretty significant impacts to the beach. There's so many ways that beach resilience can be measured, and which way is the best? That's up to interpretation. Martin County has done a really wonderful job in collecting data, so this beach is a really good test for future analyses, and all the data is there that's needed for planning exercises and for us to have conversations with the Corps, for them to understand why this beach template needs to be raised and be the leading edge. There's not many projects that I'm aware of that are talking to the Corps, trying to adapt their beach template to incorporate for sea level change. This is something new, and the Corps has their ear, they're listening, and they're willing to work with us in order to adapt this template to accommodate for sea level rise, increase the volume, and make the beach more resilient in the future. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Her challenge is to her information. Ed.
What?
or challenges to her information.
Yeah, I noticed on some of those formulas, I wasn't sure, like on the third.
I try not to get too into them.
Well, one, it's nice that you enjoy and appreciate your work, so good for you. I think that the pre-praise that you received, you earned. It was a good presentation. I mean, engineers love it. John was just, you can take the engineer out of the office, but you can't take the, whatever. Commissioner Smith.
It was funny, like, who was watching and who wasn't the presentation.
I
Over
was.
On my left. It was just, it was an interesting.
Engineer's like, yeah,
This is great.
female engineer.
Maybe not so great on the other.
Where'd you go to school?
University of Rhode Island.
Oh, okay, good for you.
I think what I took away from Wendy's presentation when we watched it was that we were in almost like in its own little class of the presentation, like relative to what other communities are investing in, and we spend probably a fair amount of money doing this work. But I think her conclusion of this is it puts us in a really good position for the Corps, not only to get our projects funded and prioritized, but to be able to document everything that's going on and what's happening. And from what I take away from these conferences and all the different information that's given, you got to do that. I mean, it was interesting, that conference followed right after Nicole. And the presentations on Volusia and their loss of their profile and their seawalls and other things was shocking of maybe there needed to be a lot more work done up there than has been done through the years. Specifically even the design of the shoreline protections and so on. So I really appreciated how you presented, but it also put us in a position that for all the money we do spend on doing this stuff, we get some fantastic results as of all of it. So, Wendy, thank you very much for being here, coming down. You want to stay? No. Jacksonville, right? You're up in Jacksonville? No.
I'm actually in Philadelphia.
Wow.
I thought you were in Jacksonville.
Taylor Engineering is in Jacksonville, yes.
But you're in Philly?
Yes,
Really?
yes. But I get to come visit here a lot, and I do enjoy it quite great.
Our winters are much better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Donaldson.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One was, I think the performance of the beach really showed itself well during Nicole too. Daytona has not had a beach program and has a lot of structures that are threatening to fall in as a result of that. Also, the Martin County project was the first, I think, federal project that had a dune constructed with the project, and that's also been significant in its performance over time. And I think this will be the third time we're looking to modify it, because we did change the slope of the breach profile to make it more turtle-friendly, which we'd worked with Ecological Associates years ago on kind of looking at alternatives to design for how it behaves for turtle nesting. So there's been a lot of really significant advancements done on the beach project. And I think lastly, I think the idea of that index is one thing is to boil it down into I think the discussion was you might be able to have a sort of a green, yellow, red, or kind of a color contour to say, hey, what's the condition of my beach, using that resiliency index just to kind of show colored locations of, hey, we're in green place, we're in yellow, or we know we need to do a project soon, or it's red because it's been stressed in some areas. So that will be a tool to communicate to our public beyond those partial differential equations that I think you threw up there, a much easier way to kind of convey what's the condition. And I think the other, that using it as a forecasting, what is the condition before a storm, which then would relate to our emergency management. Are there any structures that we need to advise people on in the event that it is vulnerable? Fortunately, to date, our beach has actually gone through significant number of hurricanes and done remarkably well, where we haven't had to have any evacuations specifically to Northeaster or something like that, which prior to 95, we did have structures wash into the ocean prior to the original project. So I think it's a good demonstration for all of that. Thanks.
Well said. Anyone else? Anyone from the public looking to address us? Who'd you bring with you?
That's my coworker, Nicole McLean.
Hello, Nicole McLean.
She
Welcome.
helps me crunch all the numbers.
Where does she operate out of?
Jacksonville.
Okay, so she's your Florida connection.
Oh, yeah. When I can't get here fast enough, she's on her way down.
That's fantastic. Anything else?
Just the one bonus of doing this, starting this now, is our FCCE project that we're looking towards is in the winter of 24-25. So we have plenty of time to get the modifications done and coordinate everything with the Corps. So there is plenty of time to get the changes in place before the next project goes out to bid next summer.
Thank you, and you did an excellent job as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, we're going to give you the short final word.
St. Lucie County's federal project, that was the first time they did that. So a thank you should also accompany us to them because we tend to receive what they do or what they've done. And so it'll be interesting to see over time how that helps us.
It has already.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're looking to, hopefully in the next project, because they did have hurricane damage as well, hopefully join the two projects and do them at the same time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Fly home safe, get back to Jacksonville safe. We will take our lunch break and return